Lin Yuxuan and I spent most of our lives together, raised 2 children, and walked hand in hand all the way to our golden anniversary. Before Lin Yuxuan passed away, our son asked him if he had any last wishes. After I'm gone, bury me with your aunt. That's my only wish in this lifetime. The room fell into complete silence, and everyone looked at me with sympathy. I nodded silently. Let's do as he says. People whispered behind my back, saying that after all these years of being a devoted wife and mother, I still couldn't keep my husband's heart in the end. I'd become a laughingstock, but they didn't know, if there were a next life, I would never marry Lin Yuxuan. When I opened my eyes again, I had been reborn back to my wedding day. Lin Yuxuan actually jilted me at the altar, leaving me alone to face all the gossip and whispers. I didn't feel embarrassed. In fact, I felt a sense of relief. My gaze slowly drifted towards the man in the white lab coat standing in the corner. Mo Yen, I'm short a groom right now. Would you be willing to step in? The entire room fell into a dead silence. Even the man standing in the corner froze, looking up in disbelief. What did you just say? Mo Yan's eyes grew slightly red at the corners, and they shimmered with light as he looked at me, with a smile. I walked up to him resolutely in front of all the guests. I said, I want to marry you. Will you have me? Mo Yen stood frozen in place, his lips trembling with emotion. Before he could respond, Mr. and Mrs. Lin rushed over and pulled me aside. Lan, dear, I know that rascal made you upset today, but I've already sent someone to bring him back. He's just being willful and acting out. Don't worry, as long as your Auntie Lin is here, you're the only one who'll be his bride. Don't do anything rash and marry someone else out of spite. I gave a faint smile and withdrew my hand. Aunt Lin. Forced affection never yields sweetness. I'm not set on marrying Lin Yuxuan either, so please just let them be together. I knew very well in my past life that Qinya, my sister, had always been the unattainable love in Lin Yuxuan's heart. It was only because Qinya had been with several boyfriends and had multiple abortions, which damaged her health. The doctor's examination revealed that she could never bear children again in this lifetime. Upon hearing the news, Mrs. Lin immediately objected to their relationship, but the marriage alliance between our families had long been arranged. Besides, Lin Yuxuan and I grew up together, and I'd carried a torch for him for years, so the marriage naturally fell to me. In our past life, everyone said we were a rare loving couple who made it to our golden anniversary hand in hand, but only we knew the truth about our happiness. Out of 60 years of marriage, we spent 50 living apart. Lin Yuxuan hated me. He never showed up. Not even on the day I was in labor with complications. Every year on our child's birthday, he spends the entire day at the cemetery. He often drinks himself into a stupor, calling out Qinya's name in his sleep. At first, I thought love could grow over time and old wounds would eventually heal, but year after year, it wasn't until we became a resentful couple that I realized it wasn't that simple. Now that I finally have a chance to start over, I want to let him go, and let myself go too. When Mother Lin saw me holding hands with Moyen, her face instantly flushed with panic. Lan, you've long been the daughter-in-law I've chosen. How could you marry someone else? I've always despised Qinya's manipulative ways. Whatever reason she has for taking Yuxian away today, I won't allow him to marry a woman like her. In our previous life, on our wedding day, Qinya found out we were getting married and jumped into the sea to end her life. All she left behind was a suicide note and a video. Yuxian, I'm forced to call you brother-in-law, but I love you. I can't bring myself to say it. I envy my sister so much. She won your heart with such ease, while luck always seems to slip just beyond my grasp. If there really is a next life, Yuxuan, promise you'll marry me instead. Mrs. Lin couldn't stand her theatrics, convinced it was all a bluff, and stopped Yuxuan from proceeding with the wedding. No one expected Qinya would actually leap into the sea. After the wedding, her body was recovered from the water, already cold and lifeless. This time, Lin Yuxuan couldn't bear to watch her die with his own eyes. When he received the video from Qinya, his eyes turned bloodshot and he rushed out without hesitation. If this were my past life, I might have felt wronged and heartbroken. Having lived 2 lifetimes, I felt not just calm, but even breathed a long sigh of relief. This time, I'm going to choose the person I truly want to marry. Moyen, if you wish to marry me too, then step forward. Today's wedding belongs to just the 2 of us. Mo Yen smiled and gave my hand a firm squeeze. Good. The whole place instantly erupted. Lin Yuxuan's friends exchanged bewildered looks below, quickly sending him messages. Bro, you've really crossed the line this time. Sis-in-law is marrying someone else. Wasn't Qinlan the one obsessively chasing our brother Lin? she was head over heels, insisting she'd marry no one else. How did the groom get swapped, and of all people? She picked that stone-faced Dr. Mo Yen. You don't think Brother Lin's runaway groom act made her so mad she's just grabbing some random guy for revenge, do you? As Mo Yen and I walked hand in hand toward the wedding altar, our fingers intertwined, murmurs rippled through the crowd below. Mo Yan's hand trembled slightly in mine as he bowed his head a little. I understood why they were whispering. Mo Yen has always had a rather poor reputation. Said to be cold-blooded and showing no warmth towards his patients. There were even rumors that he made a fatal mistake during surgery leading to a patient's death, got fired from the hospital, but was later rehired. His reputation within the circle had long been tarnished. Many young women were unwilling to marry him. There were even rumors that his medical license had been revoked due to malpractice. But I knew that wasn't the real him. Lon, was this just a momentary impulse? Moyen suddenly lowered his voice and asked me, if you want to save face, I'll help you. But don't throw away your lifelong happiness just to prove a point. I gave him a sympathetic look and was about to offer comfort when someone burst into the room in a flurry. The hotel door was kicked open with a crash. Chin Lon, stop this nonsense. How dare you think you can just swap out the groom for a wedding this important? Get your ass over here right now. Chin's father rushed over as soon as he heard the news. Upon seeing Chin's father, the guests all rose to greet him, with some even stepping forward to curry favor. But he was seething with anger, glaring at me sternly. What are you standing there for? Didn't you hear what I said? Mo Yen furrowed his brow slightly and urged me in a hushed tone, go on over now. Don't embarrass your father. I remained rooted to the spot, completely motionless. Ever since I was a child, I've been afraid of that particular expression on my father's face. Whenever he looked like that, I would instinctively become obedient. If he told me to give my favorite toy to Chinya, I would comply without a fuss. If he asked me to give up the room with the best lighting to Chinya, I would quietly pack my things and move out. Even when he wanted me to marry Lin Yuxuan, I went along with trying on wedding dresses without any resistance. I even studied all kinds of etiquette to prepare myself to be a proper Mrs. Lin. But now, I want to rebel just once. Dad, I'm going to marry Mo Yen, I heard myself say calmly. I've always respected your guidance. But this time, I must choose my life partner for myself. Smack, a sharp slap landed across my face, the sound echoing through the entire wedding venue. The entire crowd fell silent. How dare you, you ungrateful child. If you marry Mo Yen today, I'll disown you as my daughter. I looked up at him calmly and suddenly broke into a smile. Fine, let's sever our father-daughter relationship then. No one had expected this. The Qin family's famously well-behaved daughter actually said something like that. Father turned pale with rage, his chest heaving violently. Qin Lan, are you really going to cut ties with your own father over this doctor? In front of all these people, it seems I've spoiled you too much. Letting you run wild like this. After my mother passed away, my father married Zhao Xiaohua, and they had their precious daughter Qinya. Beating me had become a regular occurrence. He raised his hand in fury. Another slap was coming toward my face, but before it could land, a hand with distinct knuckles caught his wrist. Mo Yen shielded me behind him with a stony expression, not uttering a word, lay another finger on her. I dare you, he ground out the words through clenched teeth. My eyes began to sting with tears. No one has ever protected me like this in my entire life. No one could understand why I would marry Moyen, that stone-faced doctor. Only I knew the reason. In my past life, the day I died in childbirth happened to be the anniversary of Chinya's death. My husband and father only care about visiting the cemetery to be with the ones who truly matter to them. No one cares whether I live or die. Even the doctors issued a critical condition notice. I called them over a dozen times, only to be met with impatient rejections every time. Mo Yen rushed over like a madman, pulling medical resources from another hospital and literally dragging me back from the jaws of death. Later, Lin Yuxuan crossed a business rival. The rival set fire to the Lin family villa, intending to burn it down. My 2 children and I woke up to thick smoke, my leg trapped under a burning cabinet. Clutching my wailing children, I begged Lin Yuxuan to save us. He ignored us completely, rushing straight into the study to rescue Chinya's memorial portrait. It was Moyen who charged into the raging flames without a second thought, carrying me and the children out one by one. As the roof beam began to collapse, I screamed at him, Moyen, get out now. But it was too late. He was swallowed by the sea of flames, his final glance at me a reassuring smile. Since then, I too have had my white moonlight, the one who gave his life for me. It's a pity I only realized after his death just how deeply he had hidden his love for me. This time, I will stand by him and choose him without hesitation. Father was so angry he saw stars. Qinlan, I'm asking you one last time, are you sure you want to choose this man? Yes. Father let out a cold laugh. Fine, 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 you've got guts. Don't come crying to me later. With those final words, Father turned and left. Many guests who had been currying favor with Father also left. Mrs. Lin remarked with biting sarcasm, Lon, this marriage of yours is doomed to lack blessings. If you change your mind and still intend to marry my Yuxuan, I will always consider you my daughter-in-law. I ignored everyone else, simply holding Moyan's hand as we ascended the steps one by one. Tell the MC, let the ceremony begin. Most guests who were friends with both the Qin and Lin families had left the venue, with only a handful of friends remaining. I still smiled contentedly as Mo Yen and I completed the final ritual of our wedding. From this day forward, I am your wife, Mo Yen, through sickness and health, poverty and wealth, we are one. Mo Yen held me in his arms with a smile, gazing deeply into my eyes as he uttered a single word with profound tenderness. Yes, after we married, Mo Yen moved us into a riverside apartment under his name. I need to go back to the Qin family's place to get my ID card for the marriage certificate. Just as I arrived at the Qin family's doorstep, a red sports car suddenly came speeding straight toward me. Before I could even dodge, Lin Yuxuan grabbed my arm and shoved me aside forcefully. Are you blind? Lin Yuxuan stared coldly at me, a mocking smirk curling at the corner of his lips. Didn't you already cut ties with the Qin family? What are you doing here? I replied calmly. I'm here to get my ID card for the marriage registration. Lin Yuxuan's expression instantly froze as he stared at me in disbelief. What did you say? Are the rumors true? You're really going to marry that murderous doctor? Before I could respond, Qinya in a red dress hurried over from the sports car. Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, sis, I didn't see you standing there. I almost hit you, my bad. Dad just bought me this new sports car and I got a bit carried away with excitement. Hope you don't mind, Qinya's tone was dripping with. I glanced at the red Porsche and smiled faintly, lowering my gaze. Not at all. All these years living with the Qins, I've felt like an unwelcome guest. I've long grown accustomed to watching my father and stepmother shower all their affection on Qinya. When I needed a simple commuter car for my hospital internship, my father wouldn't even provide that, yet whenever Qinya asks, he hands her sports cars one after another without batting an eye. That's when I truly understood the saying. When a stepmother enters, your own father becomes a stranger. I just came back to get some things. As I turned to leave, I'd only taken a few steps when a bucket of cold water came pouring down over my head. Lin Yuxian burst into laughter. Qinya covered her mouth to stifle a laugh, yet feigned an innocent expression. Sis, everyone says you're going to marry that murderer Mo Yen. His hands are stained with blood. And he's probably carrying diseases too. Don't bring any germs into our house, let me disinfect you. Seeing the provocation in her eyes, I fixed a cold stare on Qinya. Unfazed, she instead took step after step closer. Sis, to be honest, I really don't understand what you're thinking. Yuxuan chose me. Even if he left you at the altar, you shouldn't just grab any man to save face, should you? Everyone knows what kind of person Moyan is. He's responsible for a patient's death. How can you stand sharing a bed with him, knowing his hands are stained with innocent blood? Doesn't that disgust you? I couldn't help but let out a cold laugh. You'd better worry about your own man. Mo Yen sacrificed his reputation to protect a patient, making everyone in the hospital avoid him. He may have a bad reputation, but he's never harmed anyone. That surgery was a setup by Qinya's ex-boyfriend to get back at Mo Yen for refusing to give false testimony, but Lin Yuxuan was different. In our previous life, we maintained a marriage in name only for 60 years, yet after our twins were born, we began living separately. He could never forget Qinya, that eternal white moonlight in his heart. Every few days he'd bring home young girls who looked just like her to spend the night. He'd even flirt with them right in front of me on purpose. In my eyes, no one was more disgusting than Lin Yuxuan. A mischievous impulse struck me, and I deliberately lowered my voice as I leaned closer to Qinya. Darling, the man you're with is just my leftover. If you don't believe me, he has a black birthmark on his inner thigh. I've seen it countless times. You're holding on to a candle I've already burned, treating it like some treasure. How pathetic. With that, I turned and walked away coldly. Qinya's face instantly turned pale, stamping her foot in anger. She started arguing with Lin Yuxuan. Lin Yuxuan, are you lying to me? How does she know about the birthmark on your thigh? Have you been sleeping with her behind my back all along? Lin Yuxuan's face darkened as he floundered, trying to explain himself. No, you'd never believe me if I told you. Yeah, I swear I never laid a finger on her. Watching them argue more and more fiercely, nearly coming to blows, I couldn't help but laugh. Serves you right for badmouthing Mo Yen, serves you right. Luckily, my father wasn't home. I grabbed my ID and slipped out immediately. Before leaving, I even fetched a basin of cold water and splashed it all over Qinya. Seeing her drenched like a drowned rat, a faint smile crossed my lips. Alright, little sister, I'll let it slide this time. Stop right there. Lin Yuxuan charged after me with a face like thunder. For the first time ever, he'd actually left Qinya behind and come after me instead. Qin Lan, are you absolutely sure about this? Don't think playing hard to get will make me change my mind. I've made up my mind. The only person I'll marry in this lifetime is Qinya. No one could ever take her place. I offered a faint smile, then turned and wished them well. Wishing you a lifetime of happiness and love together. Go find your girlfriend. Stop following me. Lin Yuxuan's face darkened, but his eyes remained fixed on me. Qin Lan, I told you to cut the games. Qinya is kind and innocent, nothing like your scheming self. I'm warning you, don't you dare hurt her. We may have been married for decades in our past life, but you must know I never loved you, so I'm advising you. Understood? I waved my hand impatiently. If you're still concerned, Moyen and I will leave this city for good and never cross paths with you again. Silence fell behind me, and I couldn't be bothered to argue with him any longer. My mind was filled with images of Mo Yen and me getting our marriage license, and at the thought, my steps grew lighter. Just as I stepped out of the Qin residence, two honks sounded from behind, the car window rolled down, and sure enough, it was Mo Yen coming to pick me up. Hop in, sweetheart. I slid into the passenger seat with a smile. What are you doing here? I thought you still had one more patient to check on. Mo Yen had requested 2 months off from the hospital so he could take me on our honeymoon. We need to get to the civil affairs office before someone else sweeps you off your feet. He cast a lazy gaze out the window. I turned to look as well. Lin Yuxuan stood with a livid expression, clenching his fists as he glared coldly at us. Deliberately in his presence, I leaned forward and pressed my lips to Moyen's. Honey, let's go. Mo Yan's face flushed instantly. With a nervous smile and nod, he stepped on the gas, forgetting to release the handbrake in his fluster. Lin Yuxuan's figure quickly faded into the distance behind us. I sat in the car, idly scrolling through my phone. When a news alert suddenly popped up, the chairman of the Qin group has severed ties with his eldest daughter Qin Lan, declaring he no longer recognizes her as his daughter. I took one glance and let it go with perfect composure. Moyen, I'm no longer the eldest daughter of the Qin family. Do you still want me? Do you think I'm not good enough for you? He paused for a moment, then quickly broke into a smile and ruffled my hair. Of course not. He said we could live a different kind of life. Even if it meant becoming doctors or nurses, or wandering as nomads, it would all be possible. He would never let me live a life of hardship. I gazed calmly at Mo Yan's face, my heart brimming with waves of warmth. To protect his patients, he let his own reputation be tarnished, with some even spreading rumors that he had caused a patient's death. But I knew the truth. He dedicated his entire life to healing the sick and saving lives, never harming a single soul, every single time. He was the one who saved me. I always thought it was just good fortune. It wasn't until after Moyen's death that his mother, through tears, told me, Qin Lan, my son has adored you since childhood. All these years, he's remained unmarried for your sake. Have you ever considered how rare such fortunate coincidences truly are? What appears effortless often comes at the cost of someone's silent sacrifices behind the scenes. Mo Yen, I promise to cherish you for the rest of my life. I made this vow quietly in my heart. Married life was simple yet deeply fulfilling. Every day after work, Moyen would bring me my favorite Qingtuan rice cakes. He often worried I'd get bored at home, so he'd frequently take me on road trips to nearby cities. But 2 weeks later, as I lay in bed after a shower ready to sleep, it was almost 11 p.m., and Mo Yen still hadn't come home. Suddenly, a short video popped up on my phone. Heartless doctor suspected of cheating. Caught in hospital office affair with nurse, police investigating. A sudden unease washed over me, and I tapped to read the comments below. Some people never change, do they? Didn't he just marry the Qin family's daughter? Their wedding was trending, and now he's already cheating. You can't make a silk purse out of a sow's ear. Even after marrying an angel, his heart still wanders to other women. one of the usernames looked familiar. The user named Xian even specifically tagged me in the comments under the video. Take a good look at the man you chose. Now you don't even have a place to cry, do you? After a moment's hesitation, I quickly changed clothes and rushed to the hospital by taxi. Everyone says my husband is having an affair. A crowd had already gathered at the hospital entrance, with even police officers present. Creating an extremely chaotic scene, I nodded. I fought my way through the crowd and burst into Mo Yan's office. He was standing there with his clothes in disarray. A woman in a nurse's uniform was lying on the couch. To my greater surprise, Lin Yuxuan was also present. What are you doing here? Just passing by. Lin Yuxuan crossed his arms with a smug look. Regretting your decision not to marry me now, aren't you, Qin Lan? Your taste in men is truly questionable. You've only been married for a few days, and he's already cheating behind your back. At this rate, you'll be drowning in his infidelity. I'm genuinely curious now. What kind of woman could make Mo risk a secret affair in the middle of the night? His gaze lingered on the figure curled up on the couch, eyes full of ill intent. The girl's muffled sobs could be heard from time to time. It was obvious without thinking that there was a woman inside. My face turned slightly pale, ignoring him. I stepped forward and took Mo Yan's hand. Tell me, what on earth is going on? Mo Yan held my hand and said, Lan Lan, do you trust me? I nodded without hesitation. Mo Yan seemed to breathe a sigh of relief. The next moment, he took the woman on the sofa by the hand. My eyes widened in disbelief at the scene unfolding before me. The woman in the nurse's uniform turned out to be Qinya, Lin Yuxuan, who had been watching from the sidelines, instantly paled. Yeah, how could it be you? Lin Yuxian nearly punched Mo Yan right in the face. You bastard, first you steal my fiancé, and now you dare lay a hand on Yaya. Don't you dare touch a single hair on her head. Before Lin Yuxuan's fist could connect, Mo Yan caught it mid-air. Mo Yan said coldly, calm down, don't forget we're in a hospital. With skills like yours, you're no match for me. Lin Yuxuan's face turned even more livid. What on earth is going on here? He ground out the words through clenched teeth. Gazed at Qinya with a pained expression. Yaya clearly said she was meeting friends. Why would she be in your office? Did you force her? Hearing this, I couldn't help but laugh. Lin Yuxuan is such a brainless idiot, blind and stupid. What are you laughing at? He shot me a completely unwarranted glare. Your husband is cheating on you, and you can still manage to laugh. Not everyone is as foolish as you are. I shot back with a retort. The moment I recognized the woman as Qinya, everything clicked into place, but Lin Yuxuan lost control of his emotions, struggling to hold on to Qinya, his face twisted with rage and fury. Mo Yan, you're nothing but a beast. Not only did you lure Qinya into the office, but you also made her play along with this role-playing fantasy, dressing her up in a nurse's uniform. With that, he quickly turned to the police for help. Officer, this doctor is behaving inappropriately. He must have seduced my girlfriend. You need to arrest him immediately. The officer glanced at him and said with a blank expression, you've got it all wrong. It was Mo here who called the police. Qinya, her face streaked with tears, threw herself into Lin Yuxuan's arms. Brother Yuxuan, they're all bullying me. You have to stand up for me. It's this Mo Yan. He lured me here because he was tempted by my looks. Don't believe what they say. The police were also baffled. What on earth is going on? Mo Yan took out his phone and projected the video onto the office's large screen for everyone to see. He had recorded the entire process. It was Qinya, dressed in a nurse's uniform, who took the initiative to knock on his office door. She actively seduced him. She even declared that she wanted to taste everything that belonged to her sister. This scene was witnessed by all the onlookers. Qinya's face flushed and paled by turns, her eyes darting evasively as she continued making excuses. That's not what happened at all. He fabricated this video. Lin Yuxuan's heart ached the moment he saw her tears. All reason abandoned him as he pulled her into his embrace and shouted at the police. Yaya is the most innocent and kind-hearted girl. She would never do something like this. You must have the wrong person, I said with a cold sneer. Whether the video is fake or not, there must be surveillance cameras in the hospital hallway. Just pull the footage and we'll know for sure. No sooner had the words left my mouth, Qinya's expression froze on her face. The police quickly called in hospital security and pulled the hallway surveillance footage. Sure enough, the footage showed Qinya arriving first, deliberately changing into a nurse's uniform, and sneaking into Mo Yan's office. This was clearly not a case of abduction or coercion. Lin Yuxuan's face turned ashen by degrees. Mo Yan grinned at him, wagging the phone with the video. Man, I never figured you for a guy who'd go for that kind of woman. In that case, want me to send you this video? You can enjoy it in private." Humiliated beyond belief, Lin Yuxuan stormed out of the hospital in a rage, not even bothering about Qinya. Qinya chased after him, shouting, "Brother Yuxuan, please believe me, they forced me to do it," but she was still taken away by the police. Mo Yan immediately called the police when he discovered her breaking in, citing sexual harassment as the reason. Even if the perpetrator is a girl, it's still unacceptable. On our way back, I teased Mo Yan and asked, "Even when a girl throws herself at you, you turn her down, is it because Qinya isn't pretty enough?" "No." Mo Yan's tone was uncharacteristically serious. "What?" I was completely baffled. Mo Yan stopped the car and pulled me into an embrace. "Because in this whole world, you're the only one who makes my heart skip a beat. Lon Lon, I love you." A sudden smile touched my lips. In my memory, Mo Yan has always been the quiet, reserved type who rarely expresses himself. He never really stood out, even from childhood. In college, he'd quietly save me a seat or bring me breakfast, but he never took credit, never even let me know it was him, so I naturally assumed it was Lin Yuxuan who brought me breakfast. I secretly gave my heart away during those mistaken chance encounters, until I ended up throwing my whole life away, but this time, things were finally set right. Lin Yuxian had never felt this dejected before. He thought he had successfully escaped an arranged marriage and defied his parents' wishes to marry Qinya. Little did he expect her to do something so shocking and disappointing. Lin Yuxian downed bottle after bottle, drinking himself into a stupor. He kept watching that video over and over, how Qinya flirted while dressed in a nurse's uniform, how she knocked on the man's office door, even brazenly seducing him. Lin Yuxuan's eyes were bloodshot, looking like he was on the verge of losing his mind. This was a side of her he had never seen before. In his eyes, Qinya was as innocent and kind-hearted as a little bunny. She wouldn't even hurt a fly, she wouldn't even dare to eat chicken. After seeing chicks hatch on television, she found the idea of eating meat utterly cruel. Every time she got startled, she'd instinctively shrink into his embrace, so delicate and endearing. She just made you want to protect her. How could she possibly be that kind of girl? A commotion erupted from the next table, as if they were gossiping about someone. "Are you talking about that Qinya, the so-called second miss of the Qin family? What a load of crap, she's clearly a manipulative flirt. You haven't seen the way she dresses in a nurse's uniform to seduce men. She's even more shameless than a nightclub girl. If you're interested, go ahead and have some fun, but don't even think about making her your girlfriend. She's not worth it. Haven't you heard? She's dated 6 or 7 boyfriends, had multiple abortions, she's been infertile for ages." Lin Yuxuan clenched his fists tightly and slammed them hard on the table. "Who are you talking about? Shut your mouth." The men with rainbow-dyed hair turned around with cold sneers at the commotion. "Oh really? Is Qinya your girlfriend or something? Listen man. A word of advice, don't get serious with that kind of woman, or you'll be the only one getting hurt in the end." Before leaving, they dumped a whole pile of photos. Lin Yuxuan flipped through the pages with an impassive expression, but his face grew increasingly pale as he continued reading. The photos were extremely explicit. In every single one, the woman featured was Qinya. Some showed her in all sorts of bizarre outfits, while others captured her in exaggerated, uninhibited poses. Intimately entangled with men, each photo was a dagger to his heart. The truth finally dawned on Lin Yuxuan. Qinya was always that kind of fickle woman. Unsurprisingly, every boyfriend she'd ever had ended up leaving her, all because she'd had too many abortions. He was the only one still in the dark, foolishly cherishing her like some precious treasure. Though Lin Yuxuan was reluctant to admit it, he had to face the truth. She wasn't even fit to hold a candle to Qin Lan. After returning home, Mo Yan finally wrapped up all his work and was able to join me for our honeymoon. We first visited Bali, then made our way to Santorini. We even took commemorative photos at a church in Venice. We left our mark in every place we visited. We finally opened our hearts and truly let each other in. That evening, as we sat on the terrace stargazing with Moyen letting me rest my head on his shoulder, I spoke my heart for the first time. "Moyen, the truth is, I'm nothing like the innocent little bunny you think I am. Those abortions Qinya had, I was involved." Mo Yan shot me a surprised look. "What's that got to do with you?" I gave a wry smile. "Because I know Qinya would snatch away anything that belongs to me. Those boys she dated were actually people I pretended to like on purpose. Every time Qinya saw me with them, she'd get jealous and try to steal them away. Her favorite tactic was sleeping with them, but the guys I picked weren't exactly saints either. So I knew she'd bring this on herself, but I never warned her. Does that make me a terrible person? Mo Yen seemed to understand my self-deprecating tone, and gently drew me into his embrace. I understand. This isn't your fault. Living in an environment like the Qin families, you have to protect yourself. Using certain methods doesn't necessarily make you a bad person. I didn't want to cry, but hearing him say that made my eyes well up. You know what, actually? It was Qinya and her mother who caused my mom's death. This was the first time I'd ever confided my deepest secret to anyone. I'm not really the sweet, well-behaved girl everyone thinks I am. I've been using all my resources to plot my revenge. It's all because Qinya and her mother are responsible for my mother's death. My mother never should have gotten sick in the first place. Zhao Xiaohua wrecked my parents' marriage just to become Mrs. Qin sooner. She posed as my mother's best friend. She gave her a handful of pretty little stones, claiming they were precious gems brought back from abroad. She even had them crafted into exquisite jewelry. In reality, those stones were highly radioactive. My mother had only worn that necklace for 2 months when she was diagnosed with leukemia. Later, my mother passed away. Zhao Xiaohua got her wish and married into our family. She gave birth to Qinya, and along with her, she took away my father's love as well. I have a father. Yet I live like an orphan. The year of my deepest suffering. To punish me, my stepmother locked me in the basement and brought a strange man to violate me. They tore at my hair, ripping out whole handfuls. The pain was so intense I went numb. I think a few teeth got knocked out too. Whenever I disobeyed or struggled, they'd use brute force to break me. But I was stubborn as hell. That day, I somehow got my hands on a brick. It hit the man square on the head. He passed out and bled profusely. It wasn't until things nearly turned fatal that my stepmother finally let me out. She was afraid this situation would blow up, that my father would find out and hold her accountable, so she handled the matter discreetly. From then on, she became increasingly wary of me. At first, Qinya still had some sisterly affection for me. She'd follow me around calling me sister and save me the best candies. But our stepmother kept stirring the pot behind the scenes, gradually turning her against me. She kept saying that without me, all the Qin family's assets would have gone to Qinya, so she saw me as her rival and started competing with me for everything. She sowed the seeds of her own misfortune. Now her daughter must taste the bitter fruit. After our honeymoon, Mo Yen and I returned to our riverside apartment and settled back into our normal routine. He never once made me feel like a burden, even though I wasn't working. In fact, worried I might get bored. He even set up a small clinic for me to manage. That day, I had just come downstairs. I suddenly spotted a furtive figure lurking by the doorway. Just as I was about to call for help, the person darted out and cornered me against the wall. Lon. It turned out to be Lin Yuxian, completely wasted. A pair of bloodshot eyes stared at me. Lon, did you know all along? Know what? I asked, confused. He looked at me like a wronged puppy, his expression utterly pitiful. You knew all along that Qinya was exactly the kind of woman I despise most, yet you never exposed her in front of me. Are you doing this on purpose, just because of how I treated you in our past life? You want to witness my downfall with your own eyes in this one. Lin Yuxuan's voice carried a slight nasal tone, yet it remained domineering and forceful. He stepped forward and pulled me into a tight embrace. He actually tried to force a kiss by leaning in. Have you lost your mind, Lin Yuxuan? I'm not your wife anymore. Look closely at who I am. Lin Yuxuan suddenly let out a self-mocking laugh. Lon, I wasn't mistaken. Of course I knew it was you. I regret it now. In my past life, because Qinya took her own life, I became fixated on the idea that saving her would give me a different future. But I was completely wrong. The moment I chose her, I had already lost you. I frowned impatiently. Isn't that stating the obvious? Lon, I've already broken up with Qinya. There's no way I'd ever marry her in this lifetime. Only now do I see my own heart clearly. The one I've always loved is you. I treated you poorly in our past life, so let me make it up to you this time. Alright, Lon, please give me another chance. Looking at Lin Yuxuan now, I couldn't help but see him as both pitiful and ridiculous. Back when Lin Yuxuan and I got engaged, the only reason Qinya felt compelled to steal him away was because he was my fiancé. But now, I want nothing to do with him. She gave up on that too. Qinya was determined to seduce my husband Moyan, but after getting thoroughly rejected last time, she didn't dare risk being sent to the police station again, so she finally came to her senses. I thought she and Lin Yuxuan were finally going to become an official couple. To think Lin Yuxuan would choose to abandon her. I let out a heavy sigh and pushed Lin Yuxuan away. show some self-respect. Who you choose to be with is none of my concern. Remember, I am Mo Yan's wife now. If you harass me again, don't blame me for calling the police. Lin Yuxuan was about to cause more trouble when Mo Yan suddenly took my hand and shielded me behind him. Lin Yuxuan immediately backed down. He knew Mo Yan had been working tirelessly these days to push for hospital reforms, acquired his father's private hospital, even Qin Corporation. My own father has to suck up to Mo Yan. The man who used to beat me at the drop of a hat no longer mentions cutting ties, but instead seizes every chance to cozy up to Mo Yan. He wants me to whisper in Mo Yan's ear and secure him a few business deals, all in the name of family. This suggests his company has been on a steady decline. It's reached such a critical point that he had to swallow his pride and seek help from the daughter he always looked down on. I just let out a cold laugh. As expected, when interests are at stake, emotions prove to be the most fragile. Sure. I took a sip of coffee and said with a smile, I'll agree on one condition: divorce Chinya's mother, then go kowtow 3 times at my mother's grave. 3 months after returning from our honeymoon, I discovered I was pregnant. Mo Yan was even more excited than I was, treating me like a precious treasure and fearing I might suffer the slightest hardship. He even quit his job at the hospital to focus on studying obstetrics, also he could personally deliver our baby. That afternoon, while I was reading at home, the doorbell suddenly rang. I opened the door to find my father standing outside with a complicated expression. Dad. I stared at him in surprise, wondering what had brought him here. Lon. Your father would like to have a word with you. His voice caught with emotion, which only deepened my confusion. After a moment's hesitation, I let him in. My father settled on the sofa and remained silent for a long while before speaking. Lon, I came to apologize to you. Seeing my surprised expression, he let out a bitter laugh. All these years, I've let you down, son, and I've failed your mother too. I remained silent, waiting for him to continue. Zhao Xiaohua was taken into police custody yesterday. My head snapped up in disbelief. The police uncovered a murder case from years ago, and all evidence points to Zhao Xiaohua. She confessed, she was the one who killed your mother. My heart wrenched with pain, even though I had long known the truth. Hearing it confirmed still left me reeling. Those so-called gemstones she gave your mother were actually laced with radioactive material. She knew your mother loved jewelry and deliberately set this trap. My father's eyes were filled with anguish and tears. Lon, I truly regret it. If only I had cared more about your mother back then, maybe she wouldn't have left us. Tears streamed down my face without a sound. So many nights I'd dreamed of my mother's gentle smile, only to wake and find it was just an illusion. I know I've treated you terribly these past years. Completely blinded by Zhao Xiaohua, my father knelt before me. Tears streaming down his face. Lon, I was wrong. Can you find it in your heart to forgive me? As I watched my father kneeling on the ground, a storm of conflicting emotions swept through me. Do I hate him? Of course I do. I resented his favoritism, his neglect, and how he stood by while my stepmother and Chinya bullied me. But after all, he was my father, my only family in this world. Dad, get up, I said softly. What's done is done, there's no going back. My father looked up at me. His eyes filled with hope. Now that you know the truth, I don't hold any grudge against you, but some wounds can never truly heal. I gently touched my slightly rounded belly. I have my own family now, and soon I'll have my own child. I hope you can respect my choices and no longer interfere with my life. Father nodded, wiped away his tears, and stood up. Lon, you're right, I will respect your decision. He pulled a document from his pocket. This is my will. All shares of the Qin Group will be transferred to you. You've earned this, and it's also a small compensation for the hardships you've endured over the years. I didn't take the documents, just shook my head. Dad, I don't need these. Mo Yan has given me enough love and security. We're doing just fine. Father gave a bitter smile. I know you don't need these things now, but they're your rightful inheritance. I'll keep the documents for you. You can come claim them whenever you're ready. He turned to leave, pausing at the doorway. Oh, I almost forgot to tell you, Chinya isn't my biological daughter. She was born from Zhao Xiaohua and her lover. All these years I've been kept in the dark. How ridiculous. I stared at him in astonishment. This was something I hadn't anticipated. No wonder Chinya doesn't look anything like her father. Dad, about Chinya, she's left with her biological father. I heard they went abroad. That Lin family boy still doesn't know, does he? How pitiful. With these words, father slowly walked away, his retreating figure looking much more aged than I remembered. I closed the door and slowly slid down to the floor, leaning against it. Years of grudges and pain seemed to finally find some resolution in this moment. My mother's spirit in heaven should be able to rest in peace now. As the days went by, my belly grew larger and larger. Mo Yen was even more anxious than I was. Studying nutrition guides every day to make sure the baby and I weren't missing any essential nutrients. I was reading on the sofa when the doorbell suddenly rang. Mo Yen went to answer the door, and I heard a familiar voice. I need to see Qin Lan. I have something to tell her. It's Lin Yuxuan. Mo Yen came back frowning. Lin Yuxuan wants to see you. Should I send him away? I shook my head. Let him in. Let's see what he has to say. Lin Yuxuan walked in, looking even more haggard than the last time we met. His gaze fell on my swollen belly, his expression unreadable. Lan, I came to say goodbye. I looked at him, puzzled. I'm moving abroad, and it might be a very long time before I return. He let out a bitter laugh. Qinya ran off with most of my assets. The Lin family is bankrupt now. I've lost all face to stay here any longer. I never imagined things would turn out this way. In my past life, Lin Yuxian treated me as a replacement, making my existence a living hell. This time, I kept my distance from him, and fate still dealt him the punishment he deserved. I see. Have a safe trip then, I said calmly. Lin Yuxuan was taken aback, seemingly surprised by my cold response. Lan, there's one more thing I need to tell you. He took a deep breath. In my past life, I always believed you were the one who killed Qinya, so I hated you and sought revenge. But in this life, I've come to realize that Qinya never died at all. She deliberately set up this scheme to deceive all of us. And I, foolishly consumed by guilt and obsession, wasted an entire lifetime. I stared at him in shock. What do you mean? Qinya isn't dead. Lin Yuxuan nodded. She's living comfortably abroad with her mother's lover. All these years, she's been deceiving me, deceiving everyone. I was at a loss for words. How ironic fate can be. In our past life, Lin Yuxuan hated me for a lifetime over an illusion. Now that he's finally uncovered the truth in this life, he has already lost everything. Lin Yuxuan, let bygones be bygones. We've both moved on with our lives, I said softly. He looked at me, his eyes filled with regret. If I had chosen you back then, would everything be different now? Mo Yen approached and took my hand. But you didn't, and I chose her. That's how fate unfolded. Lin Yuxuan glanced at our clasped hands and gave a silent nod. You're right. I wish you both happiness. He turned and walked away, his steps unsteady. I knew this would be the last time we saw each other. After the door closed, Mo Yen gently embraced me. Are you okay? I leaned into his embrace and nodded. I'm fine. It's just, I never imagined fate could weave such magic. Mo Yen pressed a kiss to my forehead. No matter what fate has in store, I know this much. Now that I've found you in this lifetime, I'm never letting go. I looked up into his eyes, which were filled with tenderness and resolve. Mo Yen, thank you for always being there. He smiled, the wrinkles at the corners of his eyes unfolding like flower petals. Silly, I'm the one who should be thanking you. 3 months later, I gave birth to a healthy baby boy without any complications. Mo Yen named him Hope, symbolizing our new hope and future. The arrival of our child brought greater fulfillment to our lives and filled us with even more happiness. Qin's father often visited us. He had quit drinking and become more calm and serene. Though some distance remains between us, time has gradually healed our wounds. Zhao Xiaohua was sentenced to 20 years in prison for murder. After squandering money abroad with her biological father, Qinya was arrested by local police for fraud and is expected to be extradited to face trial in China. Lin Yuxuan moved to Africa, where he reportedly works as a volunteer doctor and has started a new life. Meanwhile, Mo Yan and I continued living our simple yet fulfilling life. Waking up each morning to see my husband sleeping peacefully beside me and our child resting soundly fills me with profound contentment. In my previous life, I spent most of my years with Lin Yuxuan, yet never experienced true love. This time around, I chose someone who genuinely loves me, and have found the most sincere happiness. If our past life's marriage was a fleeting bloom, with love vanishing in the blink of an eye, then in this lifetime our love will stand evergreen like the pine, never to wither. One evening, the three of us sat on the balcony gazing at the stars. Moyan suddenly asked me, Lan, if you were given another chance, would you still choose me? Smiling, I took his hand and laced my fingers through his. Mo Yen, no matter how many chances at rebirth I'm given, I would choose you without a moment's hesitation, because you are the only answer in my life. now and always. A tender light shimmered in Mo Yan's eyes as he gently pressed his lips to mine. Hope giggled in our arms, reaching out her tiny hands to clutch at the edges of our clothes. At this moment, I knew I had found my true home, not a luxurious mansion, nor an illustrious family background, but this humble home, this man who truly loves me, and the fruit of our love. This is the life I truly wanted after my rebirth. Under the moonlight, our shadows clung together, never to part again. And, story 2, I had a car accident and urgently needed panda blood. My childhood friend begged bitterly in the Panda Blood Mutual Aid group, "Please, I'll agree to any condition, marry me, is that okay too?" a girl asked. My childhood friend gritted his teeth and endured. Yes, the whole network praised my childhood friend for sacrificing for love. If I made a fuss, I was being ungrateful. It was only years later that I found out the two of them had already been having an affair, once again. I returned to the day when I had a car accident and urgently needed panda blood. I preemptively called the young Master Gu in Hong Kong City. "I'm Jiangli, who once donated panda blood to you. Can you return that 1200 cc of blood to me?" Unexpectedly, young Master Gu had also been reborn. He rushed over overnight, buying and contending, "Donating blood is okay, but she has to marry me." I didn't expect my childhood friend to go crazy on the spot. 1. The young Master Gu in Hong Kong City vied and contended to marry me. He rushed to the hospital against time and took the lead in donating blood to me. However, the girl with panda blood, Qin Xiongwei, didn't know this. 3 days after my operation, Qin Xiongwei barged into the ward with a sense of entitlement to confront me. "Jiangli, it was me who donated 1200 cc of panda blood to you. Do you know what it means to donate 1200 cc of blood at once? It could lead to heart failure, shock, and even threaten my life. I'm saving your life with my own, so it's not excessive for me to ask for any condition. My condition is that Qinyao must marry me. I know you must be extremely reluctant in your heart, but no matter how reluctant you are, you have to endure it for now." I cut off her words. "I agree." Qin Xiongwei clearly didn't expect that I would calmly say yes. "What did you say?" Even Qinyao, who had a pained expression on his face, was full of surprise in his eyes. He thought I would cry, make a scene, and break down, that I would be crazy and reluctant to let go, and then, like in the previous life, stand on the moral high ground and tell of his helplessness. "All this is for saving you. Do you think I'm willing to marry a woman I don't love? But I've already promised her. You don't know that every day when I lie in the same bed with Qin Xiongwei, our hearts are miles apart. Do you know that all I think about is you? In the previous life, I really cried and made a big fuss. I cried all day long, begging Qinyao not to leave me. He said I was being unreasonable and looked like a lunatic. Obviously, everything he did was to save me. It was only years later that I found out the two of them had already been having an affair." I heard Qinyao tirelessly to his friends. "I'm already tired of it. If I don't come up with an excuse of sacrificing for love, how can I get away scot-free? Jiangli loves me so much. Even when I sacrifice for love, she still won't let go. If I were to break up with her normally, wouldn't she make a huge scene with me? Blame it on our childhood friendship. It made her deeply in love with me." His friends flattered and laughed. "It's all because of your great charm." Qinyao swirled the red wine and also smiled. "That's true, actually. I quite enjoy the way she can't forget about me. Even if I'm married, I want her to love me obsessively and persistently, to remain chaste for me and cry for me until dawn. This feeling is really fascinating." At that moment, my mind went blank and my ears were buzzing. Only then did I vaguely realize why all these years, whenever I tried to let go and start a new life, he would appear in front of me and tell me his sad feelings for me. It turned out that he enjoyed the pleasure of me loving him to the point of madness. Reborn once, I won't be so cheap anymore. 2. I looked at Qin Xiongwei and said nonchalantly, "Since Qinyao promised to marry you, then I'll let go. Congratulations to you too. When can I have the honor of drinking your wedding wine?" Qinyao looked at me in disbelief, and his face was extremely ugly. The friends in the ward, sensing the wrong atmosphere, quickly tried to persuade me. "Jiangli, we know you're just saying angry words. How could you be willing to let go of Qinyao? If Qinyao really leaves with Qin Xiongwei, you'll probably cry your eyes out." Hearing my friend's words, Qinyao's expression improved. The corners of his lips twitched slightly, and he leaned over to kiss my forehead. "Be good, don't make trouble. Even if I have to fulfill my promise and marry her, you're the only one in my heart." If there was a man who could donate panda blood to you at that time and the condition was that I had to let go and let you marry him, I would also make the same choice with a broken heart, because your life is more important than anything, the friends echoed one after another, persuading me to think it through. Yeah, Brother Yao only loves you, it's just a pity that the one who set the condition at that time was Qin Xiangwei, who was determined to get Brother Yao. Not a man who had to marry you, I smiled and didn't say anything. Who said that there wasn't a man who had to marry me among those who set the conditions at that time? They didn't know that as soon as I was reborn at the moment of the car accident, I took out my phone and dialed the video call of the young Master Gu in Hong Kong City, lying in a pool of blood. I begged him at the first time, "Young Master Gu, I'm Jiang Li, who once donated panda blood to you. Can you return that 1200 cc of panda blood to me?" Unexpectedly, young Master Gu had also been reborn. He rushed over overnight, hiding it from everyone and taking the lead in donating blood to me. He also smiled at me meaningfully. "Since your childhood friend fiancé can agree to any condition, then I also have to set a condition, but I trust my intuition. If I set it now, he will definitely go crazy on the spot and won't agree easily. Let's talk about everything after you successfully break off the engagement." I thought Gu Jincheng was overthinking. Qin Yao couldn't wait to break off the engagement with me and marry Qin Xiangwei instead, but I still agreed to Gu Jincheng's request. "Okay, let's talk about everything after the engagement is broken off successfully." 3. In the previous life, I finally married Gu Jincheng, but my heart was always being toyed with by Qin Yao, and I turned a blind eye to Gu Jincheng's kindness. Yet he still firmly stood up to protect me when I was exposed by Qin Xiangwei for not being able to forget a married man, when I got depression and was ridiculed by the whole network for faking illness because I couldn't get what I wanted. He sneered at everyone. So what if she doesn't have me in her heart? I, Gu Jincheng, dare to marry her, and I dare to protect her for life. I'm here to support her, not to uphold justice. Why should I take a step back to make things easier for you? Allowing you to push your luck and hurt my wife in front of me. At that time, I was already in the late stage of depression and despairing, but Gu Jincheng still never left me. Even though our marriage was in name only, he still refused to give up on me. Reborn once, I won't mistake a scumbag for true love again, and I won't avoid the one who really loves me like the plague. Qin Xiangwei, however, didn't believe that I could let go of Qin Yao so readily. "Jiang Li, you're acting so convincingly. I almost believed it. Who doesn't know that you love Qin Yao like crazy, sticking to him like a plaster since childhood? Can you let go of him so easily? I hate bitches who say one thing and do another the most." I'm not acting. I took off the engagement ring on my ring finger and returned it to Qin Yao. "Since you're going to marry Miss Qin, it's inappropriate for me to wear this ring anymore. I'm returning it to you. I won't pester you anymore in the future." Seeing me take off the ring, Qin Yao's face suddenly darkened. He forcefully stuffed the ring back into my hand. "Keep it as a memento." I shook my head. "No need, it's not fair to Miss Qin. From now on, I'll empty my heart and never think about you again. I mean what I say. If I think about you again, may I be struck by lightning. If I'm still so cheap after being reborn, if the heavens don't strike me, I'll look down on the heavens. Such a wimp doesn't deserve to live." Qin Yao's chest heaved, and he immediately covered my mouth. "What are you talking nonsense? How can you casually swear such a poisonous oath like being struck by lightning? Do you want to die?" Qin Xiangwei was very happy and took the initiative to come over and put her arm through Qin Yao's. "Qin Yao, accompany me to choose a wedding dress." "Okay, there are so many people accompanying Sister Jiang in the ward, you should learn to avoid suspicion." Qin Yao shook off Qin Xiangwei's hand, and his tone was very bad. "Get lost, I'm not in the mood today." I was a bit surprised. In the previous life, he would never shout at Qin Xiangwei like this, so it turned out that when I stopped flattering him, his enthusiasm for accompanying Qin Xiangwei to choose a wedding dress wasn't that strong either. In the ward, the friends were all trying to persuade Qin Yao not to get angry. "Qin Yao, I think what Miss Qin said is right. After all, you're going to marry Miss Qin in the future. You probably need to learn to avoid suspicion." Qin Yao's tone was even worse, and he roared sharply, "Get out, all of you." After everyone left, Qin Yao lowered his head and pinched my nose and said, "Are you happy now? If you're reluctant to let me go, just say so. When did you learn to play hard to get? You even swore a poisonous oath that you won't love me anymore. Your mouth is so tough. Can you really let go in your heart?" He looked at me affectionately, and his charming peach blossom eyes were captivating. Unfortunately, he could no longer captivate my heart. I said faintly, I can let go, probably because my expression was too indifferent. A trace of panic actually flashed through Chen Yao's eyes. 4. Late at night, Chen Yao was still called away by a phone call from Qin Xiangwei. After he left, Gu Jincheng walked into the ward to accompany me. He brought me delicious beef soup and fed me mouthful by mouthful. He said, "Red meat nourishes blood, drink more." I pushed the soup to him. "You also need to replenish your body. Donating 1200 cc of blood at once is no joke. One wrong move and there will be problems with your body. Thank you for being willing to donate so much blood to me at once. I have nothing to repay you with, and I don't even have the face to face you." Gu Jincheng looked at me and smiled gently. "Once I was on the verge of death. Weren't you also risking your life to donate so much blood to me at once? At that time, I also had nothing to repay you with and just wanted to marry you. Unfortunately, you were deeply in love with that childhood friend and rejected me mercilessly. 3 years ago, I saw a message in the Panda Blood Mutual Aid Group, emergency help, looking for panda blood throughout the city. This is the People's Hospital in the Tibetan area. A patient is in critical condition and urgently needs 1200 cc of bag ARH. D, negative red blood cells. Are there any panda brothers and sisters nearby who can come and help? Unfortunately, the place that needed panda blood was in the Tibetan area. Many people wanted to rush to help but couldn't make it in time because of the long distance. I happened to be doing research in Tibet at that time and was the only one who could donate blood to Gu Jincheng. After that, he proposed to marry me. And I refused. Later, he heard that Chen Yao had married Qin Xiangwei. He came all the way from Hong Kong City to pursue me. He said, "I'm not doing this to repay your kindness. Actually, I've known you for a long time. When you were in graduate school and went to Hong Kong City to participate in academic activities with your supervisor, I fell in love with you at first sight. I didn't expect that the person I had a crush on would save my life at a critical moment. This is a match made in heaven. Unfortunately, in the previous life, I didn't know how to cherish it." Tears welled up in my eyes, and I tried to hold back my sobs and asked cautiously, "I have no way to repay your life-saving grace. Is it still too late for me to marry you now?" Gu Jincheng couldn't believe it. He suddenly tightened his grip on my hand and held his breath. "Jiangli, what did you say? Say it again. Do you really want to let go of Chen Yao? Weren't you crazy about him, in the previous life?" I was in the late stage of depression and couldn't go on living. Before I died, I secretly ran back to Nanjing to see Chen Yao behind Gu Jincheng's back. It was also at that time that I accidentally heard Chen Yao and his friends and learned all the truth. I was heartbroken. I shook my head, holding his handsome face and said, "I don't love him anymore. I won't love him anymore in the future. Reborn once. I just want to love you well. In the previous life, I was married to Gu Jincheng for 3 years, and I never let him touch me. Now, I closed my eyes and deliberately seduced him. I wanted to let him know that I had really let go of Chen Yao. Gu Jincheng, can you kiss me? In the previous life, we were husband and wife for 3 years, but I was never kissed by you. People outside say that your mouth is the most sexy. Being kissed by you must be really fascinating. I want to taste how fascinating it is." Gu Jincheng's eyes turned red at the corners. He almost lost control when he kissed me. He said, "I did kiss you once. You cried so hard that I didn't dare anymore. I can't bear to see you cry. My heart would break. Really, I don't remember. In the future, I won't cry. I will only." My hand touched the thrilling pectoral muscle lines under his shirt. I wanted to tell him that in the future, I would only respond. His body trembled, and he lost more control. I scolded myself in my heart for being so blind in the previous life. Obviously, I could have had it so good. 5. The next day, Qin Xiangwei came to the ward to make trouble again. My parents and Chen Yao's parents were both called to the ward. In front of me, the marriage between the two families was officially called off. My father felt sorry for Chen Yao, pitiful that he had to marry a woman he didn't love to save me. He patted Chen Yao on the back and sighed earnestly, "Good boy, it's hard on you. Don't worry, no one will scold you for being fickle. This marriage will be officially called off today. We will do a good job of working on Shali's thoughts." Chen Yao looked at me deeply, waiting for me to cry, make a scene, and threaten to commit suicide. Unfortunately, I was too calm. Chen Yao sat in front of the hospital bed, unwilling to give up. "Shali, don't you have anything to say? Are you just going to calmly give me away to someone else? Don't hold it in. If you're wronged, cry it out." I withdrew my hand that he was tightly holding. "If I tell you not to marry Qin Xiangwei now, will you agree?" Qin Yao said painfully. You know I can't. A man's word is his bond. I did all this to save you. I found it funny. Then what else is there to say? Qin Yao pinched the space between his eyebrows. I'm afraid you can't take it and will hold it in until you get sick, I said. Don't worry. I won't. I've already tried to let go. I tried hard and found that it's not that difficult. It turns out that you're not as important to me as I thought. But Qin Yao's face was gloomy. The faster I let go, the uglier his face became. He actually grabbed my wrist and accused me. I don't believe it. The words you said before, that you loved me, couldn't leave me, and couldn't live without me, were they all fake? I remembered his smug face in the previous life when he was telling his friends that I was deeply in love with him. I took a deep breath and became even more indifferent. Just consider them all fake. Qin Yao's throat seemed to be blocked by something, and he couldn't say a word. He just glared at me fiercely, as if he was going to grind his teeth. My father returned the betrothal money and said to Qin Yao's father, old brother, the 880,000 yuan betrothal gift has all been returned. Check if it has arrived. Qin Yao's father looked at his phone and said, it has arrived. Xiaoli is such a pitiful child, she must be crying her eyes out inside, but still trying to be brave and say that she has let go. When Qin Yao heard his father's words, his face finally improved a little. What his father didn't know was that I was sending a WeChat message to Gu Jincheng. The engagement is successfully broken off. I'm single now, waiting for you to come and win my heart. Gu Jincheng asked me what my father usually liked the most. I asked, what are you going to do? Gu Jincheng, I'm going to visit your father with gratitude and propose marriage. I'll tell your father that the one who donated blood to you that day was actually me, and the condition for me to save you was that you had to marry me. 6. Seeing that the engagement was successfully broken off, Qin Xiangwei immediately pulled Qin Yao up from beside my hospital bed. Qin Yao, I want you to go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with me to get the marriage certificate now. I'm afraid that Jiangli will regret it in a few days and pester you again. To avoid any more troubles, let's get the certificate first. Then if she pesters you again, don't blame me for calling her a shameless mistress. Qin Xiangwei looked at me triumphantly, as if she was certain that I would pester Qin Yao. She couldn't wait to tear apart the mistress. Qin Yao slapped Qin Xiangwei in the face. Who are you calling a mistress? The ward instantly became as quiet as a chicken. Qin Xiangwei covered her face in disbelief, her voice shrill. Qin Yao, I'm the wife you're about to marry. How could you hit me because of her? I just told her not to embarrass herself by pestering you. Why did you hit me? She's pining for a married man. Why can't I call her a mistress? I found it funny and asked lightly while lying on the hospital bed. Are you blind or deaf? Did I pine for him? Didn't I say I let go? Have I pestered him from beginning to end? If you have delusions, go get treated. Don't bark here. Qin Xiangwei, however, was certain. Who can't see that you're just pretending? You love Qin Yao to death in your heart, but you still pretend to be magnanimous and give him to me. You must be crying in your dreams and begging Qin Yao not to leave you, right? Qin Xiangwei stared at Qin Yao with red eyes. Her voice tinged with sobs. Her tricks can't fool me. She's just pretending. You two have been childhood sweethearts since you were young. How could she let go so quickly? She's just being stubborn. You must go to the Civil Affairs Bureau with me to get the certificate today. Qin Yao had been observing my expression, not willing to miss any clue, but he couldn't see anything, and his expression became irritable. Qin Yao's father sighed and made the decision. Qin Yao, you and Wei Wei go get the certificate now. It's also a way to completely break Xiaoli's thoughts. Qin Yao was pulled away by Qin Xiangwei with hesitant steps. When he was about to leave the ward, he suddenly shook off Qin Xiangwei's hand, came back and bent down to kiss my forehead. I turned my head to avoid it, and he only kissed my hair. I still felt disgusted. Qin Yao seemed to have some regrets, and he said, Xiaoli, wait for me to come back. I will never give up on you. I wanted to tell him that he wouldn't be able to wait. Gu Jincheng was already handling the transfer procedures for me. He said that the hospitals in Hong Kong City were better, and there weren't a bunch of annoying people coming to the ward to disgust me from time to time. It was suitable for my post-operative recovery. I agreed. I also thought these people were quite funny. Obviously, I had clearly stated that I had let go, but no one believed me. Every day, someone would come to the ward and imagine how I was infatuated with love and hate. I sent a WeChat message to Gu Jincheng. When will you arrive? Hurry up, Gu Jincheng. Right away. I just arranged a private jet. We'll leave today. 7. When Qin Yao and Qin Xiangwei arrived at the Civil Affairs Bureau, Gu Jincheng had already arranged a private jet and wanted to transfer me to a hospital in Hong Kong City. He came to the ward to talk to my father and was about to take me away now, like Qin Xiangwei. He was also afraid of long, drawn-out problems and just wanted to cut the Gordian knot quickly. My father was confused, and his mood was more exciting than a roller coaster ride. He didn't expect that just after losing a son-in-law, a better one would come along in a blink of an eye. My father confirmed with me again and again, "Shally, are you sure you want to go with this young man? You can't just find someone to marry randomly just because Qin Yao is going to marry someone else. Although this young man has long legs, broad shoulders like the Pacific Ocean, and a narrow waist like a male model, which is your favorite type, but didn't you say you would only marry Qin Yao since you were a child? Should I call Qin Yao and tell him to come to the airport to chase you? If he knows that the one who donated blood to you wasn't Qin Xiangwei, he won't have to marry her." I rolled my eyes at my father and pretended to be in a dilemma. "Dad, what can I do? You heard it in the hospital just now. The condition for Gu Jincheng to agree to donate blood to me was that I had to marry him. Is it that when Qin Xiangwei donates blood to me, Qin Yao has to keep his promise, but when Gu Jincheng donates blood to me, I can just abandon him? One can't be so double standard. Besides, that's 1200 cc of panda blood, a matter of life for life." My father was left speechless and could only agree to let Gu Jincheng take me away. Gu Jincheng arranged a chartered plane and also hired an excellent attending doctor at a high price to accompany me to take care of me. To avoid any accidents on the plane during the journey, he arranged every detail of the journey, so that my father couldn't find any faults. My father couldn't help but ask indirectly, "Boy, be honest, when did you start having your eyes on my Shally? You have a good eye. If it weren't for Shally's car accident and urgent need for panda blood, you wouldn't have a chance to take advantage of the situation even in your dreams." I glared at my father. "Dad, can you stop being so gossipy?" Gu Jincheng answered every question. He held my hand in his palm and played with it. "I don't dare to deceive Uncle. It's been a long time, so long that it seems like something from a past life. The first time I met Shally was when she came to Hong Kong City to participate in an academic conference with her supervisor. Other postgraduate students were just eating and drinking in the venue, but Shally, like a newborn calf not afraid of tigers, not only followed her supervisor throughout the process but also dared to express her opinions in front of a group of bigwigs. She was very confident, dazzling, and charming, making people fall in love at first sight. I was a bit surprised. I didn't expect Gu Jincheng to answer like this. Yes, if I hadn't been love-struck, I could have shone brightly in my own field, but in the previous life, I was immersed in the worry about losing Qin Yao and lost myself. After my father went to the toilet, I asked Gu Jincheng with red-rimmed eyes, "The confident, dazzling, and charming girl in your eyes must have disappointed you later, right?" Gu Jincheng seemed to see through my heart. He kissed the back of my hand, and his voice was magnetic and gentle. "No disappointment. I've been waiting for you to cheer up, to live again as the person who made me fall in love at first sight. I didn't wait for it in the previous life. Let's work hard in this life." I nodded, and a spark re-ignited in my eyes. "Okay, I will definitely live up to your expectations." I took a deep breath and was full of expectations for my future. My restless hand, however, was touching around through his shirt. Gu Jincheng took a deep breath and whispered in my ear in a low voice, "Stop making trouble. You're still sick." I chuckled. "That's why I'm being so bold, because I'm sick." In the previous life after marriage, Gu Jincheng insisted on sleeping in the same room. I always curled myself into a small ball, sleeping in a corner of the 2-meter-wide bed, afraid that he would have thoughts about me. What a waste. I wonder how hurt his heart was at that time. My heart was full of guilt. And I suddenly wanted to spoil him, give him some sweetness. I pointed to my mouth. "Kiss me again, a passionate one." Gu Jincheng's breath became hot. As soon as he stuck his tongue in, my father came out of the toilet. Gu Jincheng was like a startled bird and sat up straight suddenly. He looked so noble, proper, and like a righteous gentleman. He called the medical staff to put me on a mobile hospital bed and pushed me out. Soon I got into an ambulance, and the group rushed to the airport. 8. When Qin Yao was signing at the marriage registration window of the Civil Affairs Bureau, he held the signature pen for a long time without moving. Qin Xiangwei had already signed and was sitting next to him, urging him. "Qin Yao, what are you in a daze for? Hurry up and sign." Qin Yao suddenly tore the registration form in half, then in quarters, and threw it into the nearby trash can, saying, "This marriage is off." These simple 5 words instantly stirred up 1,000 waves. Qin Xiangwei widened her eyes, her voice shrill, and her face was full of disbelief. What do you mean, Qin Yao? You're not going to fulfill your promise and marry me? Qin Yao's irritable heart for the past 2 days suddenly felt relieved. That's right, I'm not getting married. I can't stand Xiaoli's stubbornness and pretending to be calm and easily saying she has let go. I have a premonition that if I sign, I will completely lose her in this life. I have to go back and find her. The look in her eyes when she looked at me for the last time before I left the ward made me so flustered. Qin Xiangwei was going crazy and blocked his way, not letting him leave. Of course you'll completely lose her if you marry me. Do you still expect to have both of us after getting married? Qin Yao ignored her at all and forcefully shook off Qin Xiangwei. He walked towards the door of the Civil Affairs Bureau with big steps. As he walked, he couldn't help but start trotting. He even thought self-moved. If Xiaoli knows that I'm willing to break my promise and come back to find her, she will definitely be crazy with joy, right? There's no way. After all, she's the girl I've spoiled since she was a child. Qin Yao took out his phone to make a call. The voice that came from the phone was, "Sorry, the number you dialed is temporarily unavailable." What was going on? Qin Yao dialed again, and it was still unavailable. Qin Yao got in the car and stepped on the gas pedal, rushing straight to the hospital. At the entrance of the hospital, he also bought a beautiful bouquet of roses. He thought that when Xiaoli saw the flowers, she would definitely cry and say she liked them. He never wanted to see Xiaoli's nonchalant expression again. He wanted Xiaoli to laugh and cry for him. All her emotions were only for him, with her heart and eyes full of only him, just like when she was a child. She didn't cling to anyone else, only liked to cling to him. The more Qin Yao thought about it, the more he became. Finally, he reached the door of the ward. He took a deep breath and suddenly pushed the door open. Before entering the ward, he used his magnetic and pleasant voice to create a surprise. Surprise, guess who's back? The next second, he found that the hospital bed was empty. Where was she? Qin Yao went to find the nurse. The nurse said she was transferred to a hospital in Hong Kong City. Qin Yao's heart sank suddenly. Hong Kong City? Why go to Hong Kong City? Could it be that she couldn't accept his marriage to Qin Xiangwei, and ran to Hong Kong City alone to be sad secretly? It must be so. She really wasn't as calm as she pretended to be on the surface. Qin Yao smiled. Little liar. I almost believed that you really let me go. Your acting skills are really something. But unexpectedly, the next second, a friend rushed into the ward and said, "Brother Yao, you were deceived by Qin Xiangwei. I just found out that the one who really donated blood to Xiaoli was a big shot from Hong Kong City. He made a condition to Xiaoli's father that Xiaoli had to marry him. Now he has taken Xiaoli away and is about to board the plane." Qin Yao's body swayed, and his mind went blank. The whole person was like a statue, roaring sharply. Impossible. Xiaoli wouldn't agree. How could she agree to marry a man other than me? After a long while, he finally ran out of the hospital, staging a life and death race, speeding all the way to the airport. 9. I didn't expect that even after being transferred to a hospital in Hong Kong City, I still couldn't escape Qin Xiangwei's harassment. She spent money to buy hot searches and called me a shameless slut. She said I had never seen a man in my life and was still clinging to Qin Yao and not letting go. When I needed panda blood to save my life, I promised everything. But after being saved, I turned my back on my promise. Who would dare to donate panda blood with their life in the future? Netizens who didn't know the truth all stood on Qin Xiangwei's side. They scolded me with all kinds of vicious words. However, Gu Jincheng responded to the crisis public relations even faster. The public relations department of Gu's group stepped in directly. They posted a video on the official Weibo of Gu's group. It was the surveillance footage of Gu Jincheng donating blood to me in the hospital. There was also the testimony of the hospital blood collection nurse. The one who donated blood to Jiangli was Mr. Gu. Qin Xiangwei arrived later. I told Qin Xiangwei that someone had already donated blood. Qin Xiangwei then tried to bribe me with money and asked me for the identity information of the donor. The public relations department of Gu's group also showed the bank transfer record. Qin Xiangwei contacted young Master Gu by phone. She thought young Master Gu was just an ordinary donor and wanted to pay him off. Young Master Gu wanted to see what tricks she was going to play, so he gave her a bank card account. This is the 50,000 yuan she transferred. It's really funny that someone actually tried to pay off the young master of Gu's group with 50,000 yuan. By the way, let me reveal a piece of gossip to everyone. 3 years ago, young Master Gu had a car accident and was on the verge of death. It was Jiangli who risked her life to donate blood to young Master Gu. Now that Jiangli had a car accident and urgently needed panda blood, young Master Gu rushed to return this favor as soon as he learned about it. This two-way love is so sweet. Anyway, our company group is crazy about it. The situation reversed too quickly. The fooled netizens changed their stance. The online violence, like a flood and wild beast, smashed towards Qin Xiangwei, who is the real shameless slut. She dared to demand that someone marry her even though she didn't donate blood. Has she never seen a man in her life? Could a normal person make such an unreasonable request when donating blood? She must have been eyeing someone else's fiancé for a long time. Right, check her online accounts. I bet we can find some clues. I found her small account on a certain app. Sisters, go and check it out. There's a big melon. I was lying in the hospital bed, scrolling through the comments. The power of netizens was indeed powerful. I clicked on Qin Xiangwei's small account. It was really wonderful. Sisters, what should I do if I meet my true love in the Panda Blood Mutual Aid group? There's no childhood love that can't be forgotten. Only a heaven-sent one who doesn't work hard enough. Woo-hoo. He's engaged to his childhood love. Is it still too late for me to work hard now? Men are really animals driven by their lower bodies. He couldn't resist my kiss. There is no everlasting love, only eternal interests. My dad is so awesome. He has a business cooperation with his family. Now all that's lacking is a marriage alliance. It's a godsend opportunity. His little childhood sweetheart had a car accident. And now it's my chance. I thought that when I saw these words, I would be so angry that my whole body would tremble, but I was actually very calm. It turned out that once I let go of Qin Yao, I wouldn't feel the pain anymore. Qin Xiangwei tried desperately to delete those posts, but what was the use? Many netizens took screenshots and called her a mistress. Her reputation was ruined, and she couldn't cause any more trouble. However, it seemed that Qin Yao couldn't let go of me. He actually chased all the way to Hong Kong City. There were intense quarreling sounds outside the ward. Qin Yao wanted to see me, but Gu Jincheng wouldn't allow it. Gu Jincheng, you despicable villain, you actually tricked me into breaking off the engagement with Xiaoli. Xiaoli won't agree to marry you. I heard Gu Jincheng sneer, his voice cold and mocking. Didn't you say that you would agree to any condition as long as it could save her? Why are you losing your composure now that my condition is that she has to marry me? 10. I turned over and got out of bed, then walked out of the ward. I saw Qin Yao looking like a ferocious beast that had been provoked, with bloodshot eyes that were completely red. When he saw me, Qin Yao restrained his temper a bit and said with a sense of certainty, Xiaoli, come here, as long as you don't want to. I promise that no one can force you. Gu Jincheng didn't give an inch and stood in front of me to block him. I squeezed Gu Jincheng's hand to soothe his restless emotions. Then I looked at Qin Yao. Qin Yao, stop making a scene. Didn't you say that if there was a man who could donate panda blood to me at that time and the condition was that you had to let go and let me marry him, you would also make the same choice with a broken heart? You set the condition yourself, and we can't go back on our promise. Didn't I calmly accept it when Qin Xiangwei asked you to marry her? Qin Yao was left speechless and stared at me with his eyes wide open and full of anger. Come here, we can face anything together and overcome any obstacles. You love me so much. If you can't marry me, how will you live the rest of your life? I finally couldn't help laughing. With a sound, I stopped pretending. Qin Yao, who gave you the confidence? Do you really think I don't know that you and Qin Xiangwei have already been having an affair? I even feel disgusted just by looking at a man like you who is tainted. Qin Yao was like being struck by lightning. And his voice trembled uncontrollably. Xiaoli, it's not what you think. Listen to my explanation. Fine, explain then. But he couldn't explain a single word. His secret that he thought he had hidden so well was exposed, and he felt so embarrassed that his face turned from white to red. He could barely stand still. After a long while, he finally grasped the main point and said, Xiaoli, I didn't get the marriage certificate with Qin Xiangwei. I regretted it the moment I was about to sign at the Civil Affairs Bureau. Aren't you happy? In the end, the person I want to choose is still you. His tone was like he was trying to take credit with me. I didn't expect that he hadn't married Qin Xiangwei, but so what? In the previous life, he didn't make this choice. Not only did he marry Qin Xiangwei, but he also hoped that I would never forget him. He enjoyed the pleasure of two women fighting over him. Now, it's just because I'm no longer fawning over him. Men are just like that. They only know how to cherish something when they can't have it. Xiaoli, come here, I'll take you home. The relationship we've had since we were children can't be interfered with by anyone. Qin Xiangwei can't, and Gu Jincheng definitely can't either. Even if I get lost occasionally, I can quickly recognize myself and get back on the right track. Let's forget all the unpleasant things in the past, even now. He was still so confident and thought that I could forgive him. I shook my head in disgust. It's too late. I don't love you anymore. There are better people worthy of my love, and you don't deserve it. I held Gu Jincheng's hand tightly, and his eyes were filled with tender light that could drown a person. Gu Jincheng lowered his head and kissed me. I'll help you back to the ward. I nodded shyly. Okay, husband. Seeing our intimate little interaction, Chen Yao's eyes were full of disbelief. He growled. What did you call him? I said, just like Qin Xiangwei was afraid that something might go wrong if we waited too long. Gu Jincheng was also worried about that. So as soon as we arrived in Hong Kong City, before we even entered the hospital, we went to the Civil Affairs Bureau to register and get the marriage certificate first. Now, Gu Jincheng is my husband. I enjoyed his expression of despair, which was just like mine in the previous life. At the moment when I couldn't stop Chen Yao from marrying Qin Xiangwei, I was so desperate, it felt like life was worse than death, but all of that was in the past, and I have a future to look forward to. I want to become again the confident, dazzling, and charming person in Gu Jincheng's eyes. 11. A good relationship can nourish a person. While I was recuperating in the hospital, I resigned from my job. With the recommendation of my supervisor, I found a new job at a research institute of the University of Hong Kong. I started living a peaceful and fulfilling life. Every day after work, Gu Jincheng would drive to the University of Hong Kong to pick me up. I said, "Aren't you tired? Don't you have any social engagements in the evening?" I remembered that after marrying Gu Jincheng in the previous life, he almost always went to social events. Gu Jincheng fastened my seatbelt for me and took the opportunity to kiss me. There are so many young and handsome guys at the University of Hong Kong. If I don't keep an eye on you, what if someone takes advantage of the situation? I was amused. How could that be? You're still in your prime. Gu Jincheng is 28 years old this year, which is a great age for a man. When I said he was old, he immediately looked in the rearview mirror and examined himself carefully. But he saw Chen Yao's car in the mirror. Why is he like a lingering ghost? He still hasn't given up after several months. Did he come to look for you again today? I said, don't pay attention to him. Let's go eat seafood tonight. Okay. My colleagues recommended a new restaurant to me today. They said the food is really good, and I want to give it a try. Gu Jincheng started the car. You set the location. However, from the rearview mirror, I saw Chen Yao driving and following us all the way. Is he crazy? Gu Jincheng increased the speed of the car. Chen Yao followed and accelerated. When we arrived at the seafood restaurant, Chen Yao followed us in as well. He sat alone in the corner and watched me and Gu Jincheng chatting and laughing while eating. Gu Jincheng said there was some sauce on the corner of my mouth. Where? Come closer, and I'll wipe it for you. So I leaned my face closer, and he wiped it for me. He took the opportunity to kiss me secretly. I leaned the other side of my face closer. Wipe this side too. Gu Jincheng deliberately showed off our affection in front of Chen Yao. He also pushed the peeled crab meat in front of me and discussed the wedding arrangements with me. Suddenly, Chen Yao walked over, and his voice was filled with the pain and despair that he had suppressed for a long time. So, you can really have a meal with another man so intimately. The Shally who used to only smile at me like this. It turns out that you can really fall in love with someone else. I'm not the only one for you. Then what am I? What am I? The one who can't fall asleep at night thinking of you every day. Chen Yao seemed to be drunk, and his tone was very aggressive and aggrieved. He was staggering and wanted to hug me. Gu Jincheng kicked him away. Where did this stray dog come from? Wrongly claiming its master here. The waiter in the restaurant came over to help him up. Chen Yao didn't appreciate it. Get away. Don't touch me, the waiter said. Sir, you're drunk. Chen Yao roared. I'm not drunk. I'm more sober than anyone else. The girl I've held in the palm of my hand for more than 10 years has been stolen away by someone else. Why can she stop loving me just like that? How can she be so heartless and cruel? Did she have an affair behind my back long ago? Gu Jincheng directly paid the bill and took me away. Shally, don't leave. Every time I got drunk in the past, you would rush to pick me up right away. I'm drunk, and I feel so afflictive. Shally, Shally. Chen Yao called my name with a broken heart, and his voice sounded extremely desolate. I didn't look back. I would never look back in this life. 12. The next time I saw Chen Yao was on my wedding day. I went back to my home in Nanjing and waited for Gu Jincheng to come to pick me up as the bride. Chen Yao's family lived next door to mine. In the morning, while I was doing my makeup, Qin Yao suddenly rushed in looking like he had lost his soul. He searched the whole room for me. When he saw that I was safe and sound, he let out a long sigh of relief. Then he rubbed his face hard and said with a look of lingering fear, "Xiaoli, fortunately you're still alive. I had a dream that you died, and it scared me to death." His eyes were full of fear, and there were bloodshot eyes all over. I looked at him with a complicated expression. Qin Yao noticed it. "What's with that expression on your face?" I pursed my lips and didn't say anything. My eyes were very cold. Qin Yao seemed to realize something and stumbled and fell to the ground. "No, it's impossible. I wouldn't treat you like that. How could I possibly treat you like that?" I turned my eyes away, too lazy to look at him anymore. There was only a sneer at the corner of my mouth. In an instant, Qin Yao seemed to have understood everything, and his voice trembled violently. "So, this is the reason why you don't love me? Did I ruin the relationship we had as childhood sweethearts with my own hands?" I was too lazy to pay attention to him. The relationship we had as childhood sweethearts had long become like mosquito blood in my heart. Qin Yao suddenly raised his hand and slapped himself twice hard. Then, he slapped himself twice more. He continued slapping himself. He slapped his face swollen and knelt down in front of me, begging desperately, "Xiaoli, tell me. This isn't true. Please, tell me, this isn't true. Don't be like this. I'd rather you fell in love with someone else. I'd rather you had an affair with Gu Jincheng behind my back than you tell me this is true." I was wearing a wedding dress and standing in front of the mirror, looking at myself, confident and beautiful. I ignored him and walked out with both hands holding the skirt of the wedding dress. I didn't understand what he was begging for. How could a scumbag not be able to face the fact that he was extremely scummy? Who was he showing his regret to? It was just self-pity. He had a performative personality. I was even afraid that I would be struck by lightning if I looked at him one more time. 13. Gu Jincheng came to pick me up as the bride. He was so handsome, wearing a suit and exuding charm. In the previous life, we didn't have a wedding. He wanted to have one, but I didn't want to. We both wanted to make up for the regret in our hearts. In the evening, we held a wedding banquet in Hong Kong City. The venue was decorated romantically and luxuriously. There were flowers, music, and a red carpet. Everything made people happy. After the wedding, we went to Tibet for our honeymoon. We were looking for the starting point of our fate. Gu Jincheng said that he wanted to establish a 24-hour independent panda blood bank across the country. In the future, if people with special blood types like us urgently need panda blood, it can be supplied in a timely manner to deal with various emergencies and win precious time for rescue. I thought it was a great idea and supported his decision. 2 years later, the research institute I worked for achieved a milestone breakthrough. At the academic conference, the institute asked me to go on stage to give an explanation. I stood on the stage, and there were countless colleagues and bigwigs sitting in the audience. Gu Jincheng and several investment tycoons sat in the first row. He was wearing a white shirt, looking cold, noble, and extremely handsome. There was an alluring smile at the corners of his eyebrows and eyes. I felt a little proud in my heart. I wondered if I was the most charming in his eyes at this moment while standing on the stage. At the cocktail party after the conference, Gu Jincheng proudly introduced me to others. "I'm Jiang Li's husband." At that moment, I had the answer in my heart, because he didn't say, "Jiang Li is my wife." He was proud to be my husband. People are all drawn to the strong. He admired me, just like I admired him. Qin Xiangwei barged into the ward with a sense of entitlement to confront me. It turns out that a healthy, mature, and positive relationship is so wonderful. There's no need to indulge in love to the point of being crazy about it. All you need to do is focus on yourself and become a better person. Give the other person a high-quality lover. This is the ultimate romance in love. When the party was over, Gu Jincheng called the driver to pick us up. He had been drinking and couldn't drive. As soon as we got in the car, he uncontrollably hugged me in his arms. There was a surging tide in his eyes. I asked, "What's wrong with you? Is the alcohol taking effect?" Gu Jincheng adjusted the seat back and pressed me on the car to kiss me. "Wife, you were so charming today." Sure enough, he liked intellectual girls, but when I had depression before, didn't you also love me so much that you couldn't bear to let me go? Gu Jincheng said, "Actually, at that time, I hated you who fails to live up to expectations. I really didn't like you being like that, but I couldn't do anything about it. I couldn't bear to leave you alone. I always thought that as long as I tried harder, you might still be saved." My eyes were wet with tears, and I held his face and kissed him actively. Thank you for not being willing to leave me behind. Story 2. In my previous life, I shamelessly pursued the most attractive guy at school. On the day I died of cancer, he was marrying the love of his life in a grand wedding. Now, having been given a second chance, I found myself back on the day I first confessed to him. In front of everyone, I slammed my love letter down on the desk of the notorious school bully. Startled from his nap, he opened his eyes to see the letter adorned with hearts and gave a puzzled look. It's for you. Use it as scrap paper, I said. The classroom fell dead silent. The bully, with his striking, aggressive features and a silver earring gleaming on his right earlobe, looked up slowly. There were audible gasps around. Whether out of awe or fear, I wasn't sure. I remembered him well. Zhou Yusi, rumor had it that if you picked any 3 buildings in the school, one of them was donated by his family. Hence, not only was he referred to as Brother CI, but he also had another nickname, Building Brother. A classmate jokingly remarked, "Wow, Brother CI, even the peach blossoms have come to you in class." Zhou Yusi laughed and told him to get lost, his tone lazy yet intimate. After that, he turned to me. "What are you trying to do? I just want to sit next to you." "Is that a problem?" I replied naturally. More gasps followed, this time clearly shocked. Zhou Yusi, propping his head with his hand, gave me a half-smiling look. "No one sits next to me. What makes you think you can?" We locked eyes, neither willing to back down. I clenched my teeth. No choice left. There were only 2 seats left in the elite class. If I didn't sit next to him, I'd have to sit with Chi-Han, which was akin to courting death. So, I just threw down my bag and sat next to him. Stubborn as can be, Zhou Yusi frowned impatiently, as if he was about to throw me out any second. "I already told you." Before he could finish, I pressed down on his leg under the desk. His expression froze suddenly. In a voice only the 2 of us could hear, I pleaded, "Please let me sit here, otherwise I'll have to sit with Chi-Han. You don't know, he's a creep. When there's no one in the classroom, he likes to crawl around in the shadows, and he even steals girls' skirts." I had no choice but to. It didn't matter. Chi-Han couldn't hear us, and even if he did, he deserved it. I got more agitated as I spoke, squeezing harder with each word. With each squeeze, Zhou Yusi's expression grew darker. Eventually, his face was so grim he could wring water out of it. Almost grinding his teeth, he spat out a word, "Fine." I was puzzled. Just a moment ago, he had an arrogant smile. Why had he suddenly become so agreeable? And what was that expression? Like he was a king forced to bow under someone else's roof. Wait, were his thighs a bit too slender and soft? "You freaking pinching," Zhou Yusi finally snapped. I quickly withdrew my hand. Oh no, those weren't his thighs. After class, Chi-Han cornered me in the hallway. "What's going on with you and Zhou Yusi?" I didn't want any trouble and brushed him off. "None of your business." Chi-Han probably didn't expect my rebuff and scowled. He blocked my path and stretched out his arm. "Xiaolin-Chi. Zhou Yusi is not someone you can mess with. How could you send him a love letter?" Considering what had happened in my past life, my anger flared up suddenly. "What does it matter to you whether I provoke him or not? He may not be great, but he's still better than those who lead others on without accepting or rejecting them." Yes, if it weren't for Chi-Han giving me hope just when I was about to give up in my previous life, making me mistakenly think that just a bit more effort would be enough to win him over, I wouldn't have liked him for so many years. Chi-Han's expression turned ugly in an instant. "Xiaolin-Chi, what do you mean by that?" I crossed my arms and sneered coldly. "It means I'm criticizing you. Can't you tell?" Chi-Han's face grew darker, and just as he was about to continue speaking, I no longer wanted to waste my time with him. I quickly spotted Zhou Yusi not far away and waved my arms, shouting, "Brother CI." Under everyone's gaze, Chi-Han had no choice but to let me go. His last words in my ear were, "Xiaolin-Chi, I'm very disappointed in you." While smiling at Zhou Yusi, I was succinct, "Get lost." When I reached Zhou Yusi, I smelled a faint scent of tobacco. "Did you just come back from smoking?" Zhou Yusi simply hummed in response, then stretched out his hand to press on my forehead, pushing me away. His voice was hoarse and rough. "Second-hand smoke is harmful. Don't smell it." I remembered that in his last life, he only attended our school for 3 months, and it seemed he transferred because of a health issue. Out of nowhere, I blurted out, "First-hand smoke is harmful too. Can you stop smoking?" I looked at him with hopeful eyes. Xue Chao couldn't help but joke from behind, "You haven't even caught up with Brother CI yet, and you're already playing the strict wife." Realizing how over the line my request was, I said, "I mean, maybe smoke less in the future, Two voices responded at once, and I was stunned. Huh. Zhou Yisai clenched his fist to his lips and coughed softly. I'll stop smoking in the future. Now it was my turn to be dumbfounded. The legendary school tough guy, so compliant, Chi Han's unrequited love was named Jiang Jiayao. In my last life, she and I entered the elite class together. I didn't know Chi Han liked her, so I sat next to him without any second thoughts. Little did I know that seat was actually reserved for Jiang Jiayao. No wonder Chi Han ended up disliking me so much that after receiving my love letter, he maliciously said, "Oh, draft paper." Originally, Jiang Jiayao was too shy to sit next to Zhou Yisai and asked to sit by the podium instead. This left a huge gap between the couple. Thinking back to how Chi Han mocked me in my past life, he probably blamed me for that. Strangely, in this life, Jiang Jiayao got to sit next to Chi Han as she wished. But he wasn't as keen as before. Instead, he kept blocking me. Maybe it's true that absence makes the heart grow fonder. To avoid Chi Han, I had to stick close to Zhou Yisai. I nearly followed him into the men's restroom. In fact, it was almost to that extent. Every time Zhou Yisai got up, I would quickly ask, "Going to the restroom? I'll come with you." This led to his cronies teasing every time I appeared at the men's restroom door. "Hey, sister-in-law. Coming to accompany brother CI to the restroom again. Can't be apart for even a moment." Huh, such a devoted wife. What more could a husband want? Ouch. Zhou Yisai came out, smacked Zhang Wei on the head, a lollipop askew in his mouth, squinting his eyes. "What are you talking about? Aced your Chinese exams." Ever since he promised to quit smoking, he really hasn't touched it again. Instead, he bought a bunch of lollipops from the convenience store. Stuffing one in his mouth whenever he craved a smoke, I accidentally saw that they were all strawberry flavored. He walked up to me with his hands in his pockets. "Let's go, little tagalong." I blushed. "What kind of nickname is that? Don't call me randomly." Zhou Yisai leaned in and laughed. "Don't you know what the rest of the school says about us? They say you're my child bride, so you've been following me around all day." What the heck? I was just trying to avoid Chi Han, that's all. I was still silently defending myself in my mind when Zhou Yisai, without my noticing, took a lollipop out of his pocket, unwrapped it, and made an ah shape with his mouth. I was skeptical, but I opened my mouth anyway. The sweet taste quickly filled my entire mouth. It was strawberry flavored. Why suddenly, give me candy? Before I could finish my question, Zhou Yisai had already turned and leisurely walked towards the classroom, catching a glimpse of Chi Han's fleeting figure. I hastily chased after him. "Hey, wait for me." That day, Chi Han blocked me at the staircase again. I pretended not to see him and tried to step up the stairs. Chi Han blocked my path with a stack of notebooks. I said impatiently, "Move it." But Chi Han frowned and said softly, "These are the key points I've noted. The monthly test is in a few days, and you won't make it without these." I didn't reach out for them, just suddenly looked up with a mocking gaze. "After each class division, there's a monthly test. It's used to check whether new students can keep up with the class's pace and to weed out those who were just lucky. In my previous life, I desperately begged Chi Han to help me with the key points, but he refused. He said, 'You only got into the elite class by luck. You're bound to be sent back.' Why cling on unwillingly? He always thought I was just someone who got lucky, never believing that back then, I really liked him enough to study hard. Later, I managed to stay in the elite class by ranking 5th from the bottom. Everyone was surprised, guessing that Chi Han had tutored me. Back then, he didn't offer any explanation, and now, I avoid him like the plague. Yet, he took the initiative to neatly bring his notes to me. I crossed my arms and laughed. "Whether I can make it or not isn't for you to decide. On the surface, you pretend to care, but your words are full of disdain. Chi Han, who gave you the right to look down on me?" Chi Han's expression stiffened, then he sighed. "You shouldn't be arrogant with words. The priority is to improve your grades." I rolled my eyes. "Can't you understand? I said I didn't need them." Chi Han reached out, about to forcibly stuff the notebooks into my arms. To avoid him, I naturally leaned back, but I forgot that I was standing on the stairs. Feeling the loss of balance, I instinctively cried out, "Ah, ah, ah." But the expected pain didn't come. I fell into a strawberry-scented embrace. "Shoo, how long are you going to lie here?" I was lost staring at Zhou Yisai's face until he spoke, and I realized I had knocked him down. That loud noise was the sound of him hitting the ground with his back. "I'm so sorry." Zhou Yisai stood up, twisted his neck, and said to Chi Han, "Aren't you leaving?" Chi Han's face turned utterly dark, and he left without a word. He ultimately didn't dare to confront Zhou Yusi directly. After he was gone, Zhou Yusi still stood there, silent, feeling a bit guilty. I quickly suggested, shall we go back to the classroom? Zhou Yusi remained silent, head down, not moving or speaking, thinking he was angry. I hurriedly continued, it's really him who blocked me. Since you told me to keep my distance, I've been avoiding him. I know, Zhou Yusi interrupted me, lifting his head with no sign of anger. He pointed at his leg. Can you help me to the medical room? I think I twisted it. I struggled to support Zhou Yusi, watching him hop down the steps. He asked, so, are you really avoiding him because you listened to me? Do I carry that much weight in your heart? Say one more word, and I'll push you down these steps. Zhou Yusi sprained his ankle because of me, so, naturally, the responsibility of taking care of him fell on my shoulders. I fetched water for him, I brought him meals, I helped him get excused from gym class, and under his forceful insistence, I also took leave, to keep him company and alleviate his boredom in the classroom. During the break, Zhang Wei looked at the pile of snacks and fruits on Zhou Yusi's desk and exclaimed enviously, that's nice, I wish I were lame too. Chewing an apple, Zhou Yusi glanced at him smugly, is your deskmate as good as mine? Zhang Wei's male deskmate, who was unexpectedly mentioned, slowly lifted his head, puzzled, but Yusi, what about when you go home? There's no one to take care of you at home, Zhang Wei continued, but swallowed the rest of his words under Zhou Yusi's menacing gaze. That moment reminded me of the rumors about him from a past life. It was said that although Zhou Yusi came from a wealthy background, his parents seldom showed him affection. They often had him transfer schools due to their work, leaving him with a large sum of money and nothing else. Despite the private comments among classmates like, if I had that much money, I wouldn't mind if my parents ignored me, I thought that for Zhou Yusi himself, it must still be somewhat hurtful. With that thought, I almost instinctively said, I'll go to your house and take care of you. Upon hearing this, both Zhou Yusi and Zhang Wei were stunned. Scratching his head, Zhang Wei spoke first. Sister-in-law is so kind. But Yusi never lets anyone visit his home. It's fine, Zhou Yusi interrupted him. I turned to look at him, seeing a faint smile playing at the corners of his mouth as he leisurely said to me, deal, no backing out. Zhou Yusi's home was on the top floor of a building in the city center. I had only heard that the rent there was extremely high, mostly occupied by startup companies. I hadn't expected there to be residences, carrying groceries I had just bought. Zhou Yusi casually pointed to the kitchen, put them there. My eyes darted around looking for an apron. When I turned back, I found Zhou Yusi already putting one on. A rascally handsome face paired with a pink lace apron looked quite cute. I was surprised. Aren't I supposed to cook? Zhou Yusi had already started washing the vegetables, balancing on his plastered leg by the sink, his brow slightly furrowed, looking as if he was dueling with something. Oh, with the cabbage, while idling. He unwrapped a lollipop and popped it into his mouth, then mumbled, just kidding, how could I really let you cook? Today, you'll taste my cooking skills. Watching him skillfully ignite the stove, slice the meat, and chop the vegetables, my surprise grew, probably seeing the astonishment on my face. Zhou Yusi chuckled, what, did you think I was a pampered young master who can't touch spring water? I nodded honestly, as he dumped the shredded meat into the hot oil, causing a sizzling sound. Zhou Yusi said, you know my family is rich, right? They also call me, building brother. My parents are quite generous, but the moment I argue with them, they cut off all my allowances, even informing relatives and friends not to lend me any money. After one particularly fierce argument, they ignored me for half a year. I almost couldn't afford to order takeout. It was only thanks to a neighborly aunt who felt sorry for me and gave me some vegetables, although I ended up burning them. I couldn't even eat them. After that incident, I learned how to cook for myself. He turned back and smiled at me. So, during that time, every time I saw the buildings they donated at school, I was so annoyed I felt like selling them just to buy some food. His expression was calm, showing no sign of pain or anger, but I always felt he was not really happy. Even the last joke seemed to be an effort to keep the mood from getting too gloomy. I opened my mouth but for a moment didn't know how to comfort him. After all, doesn't every family have its own set of challenges? Actually, I was about to speak when my phone rang. Seeing the caller ID, I frowned instinctively. After hesitating for a while, I answered the call. It's so late, why aren't you home yet? Your brother wants to eat desserts from Panji, remember to pick some up on your way. Are you mute? Speak up. I took a deep breath and hung up directly. Zhou Yusi looked at me with a puzzled expression. Who was that? My dad. Oh. There was a silent pause for a few seconds. Neither of us continued the topic. Decided to come back. Have you? As I opened the door, the living room was pitch dark. Just as I fumbled to turn on the light, I saw 3 figures sitting in the center of the sofa. The man's undisguised anger filled the cramped space, mixed with the cheap scent of cigarettes. I looked at them indifferently, not intending to engage. Yeah, I'm back. Saying that, I turned to head to my room. Stop right there. Unexpectedly, my cold response was met with even greater fury. A glass cup whizzed past my ear, blocking my path, and then crashed against the wall, shattering into pieces. Glass fragments scattered on the floor, reflecting my current expression, numb and tired. From behind, my mother's voice came. Xiaoqi, what's been going on with you these past few days? Coming home so late every day, no one's cooking at home. Are you hanging out with some shady friends? Your dad is just concerned about you. Come here, apologize to him. I turned around, looking at my family of 3. If it had been my previous life, perhaps I would have been swayed by my mother's gentle persuasion and apologized without a thought, but having relived this life, I was acutely aware of the underlying message in her words. So it was actually about me not cooking for the family, wasn't it? How ridiculous. Just like when I received my own cancer diagnosis in my previous life. Scared and confused, I called home, and their first reaction was, why don't you tell your brother the bank card PIN before you go? Later, I donated all my property to charity, and they, crazed, came to the hospital, even trying to drag me from my bed to change the will. You ungrateful wretch, you'd rather give to strangers than to us. Your brother is getting married, we urgently need the money, and you gave it away to others. It seemed nobody cared about my dwindling time. Perhaps from that moment, I knew they never really loved me. Lacking love in my original family, I sought to find compensatory love in Chihan, but having never seen what true love looks like, the love I gave was clumsy and awkward. In my last life, I fell into such a vicious cycle, leading to a lifetime of tragedy. This life, I clenched my fist. Speak up, mute. What about the panji you were supposed to bring me? I bet you were messing around with some man, so you forgot. Ah. I grabbed a cup nearby and threw it back at them. Tit for tat, it was only fair. You better watch your mouth. Seeing that I dared to lay a hand on their precious son, the other 2 were becoming restless. Xiao Linqi, I think you've gone too far today. I need to teach you a lesson. The man rolled up his sleeves, stretched out his arms to grab me, although the cup didn't hit his face. Xiao Xiao, still startled, stood there cursing. I heard she's been busy chasing after men at school. Some guy named Qi. How could she focus on her studies? Am I wrong? She's just chasing after some random men, and she even dared to hit me for one. Oh great. I actually raised a daughter without any shame. Look at me. The scene was chaotic. Before my dad could grab me, I sidestepped into my room and slammed the door shut. There was a loud bang as someone's head hit the wooden door. Ouch. Xiao Linqi, open the door. If you dare, stay inside forever. I locked the door from the inside, ignoring the pounding on the door. About 10 minutes later, the pounding intensified, and there were even sounds of a hammer hitting the doorknob. At this rate, the door would be broken down in 5 minutes. It's your choice. Come out by yourself or we break the door. I'm counting to 3, 2. I walked over and opened the door myself. Good, you know better. My dad probably thought I opened the door out of fear. After all, in this household, the thing I feared the most was the countdown, because the moment the syllable 1 was uttered, it meant I was about to be hit. So he was surprised when he saw my calm expression. Dragging my suitcase, I walked past them expressionlessly. My mom quickly shouted, Xiaoqi, where are you going? Xiao Xiao sneered beside her. Look at her, playing the runaway drama. Who do you think cares about you here? Perhaps before, such blatantly malicious words would have hurt me, but not anymore. I turned around and said, the suitcase and the clothes inside were all bought with the money I earned from my part-time jobs. Over the years, I've been working to pay for my tuition and living expenses, and I've given the rest to you. I don't feel I owe you anything. But if the court decides in the future that I need to provide for you, I will pay whatever is legally required. Until then, I hope we don't appear in each other's lives again. It's disgusting. With that, I dragged the small suitcase out the door. It's funny, I realized only when leaving that all the clothes I had were bought with my own money, and I didn't even have more than 5 sets of clothes. My words seemed to have stunned everyone. After walking a distance, Disjointed voices of conversation followed. Xiaoqi, what are you saying? Are you really leaving? Are you really so heartless to leave your mom and dad? Why stop her? I've always said, daughters are thankless. And all that nonsense about being the little padded jacket, I spit on that. Just let her go, Mom, I bet she won't last long and will come back with her tail between her legs. I clenched the handle of my suitcase and smiled. We'll see how long I last. The road in the neighborhood was very dark, the dim streetlights elongating my shadow. I stared at my shadow, suddenly feeling a bit lost. Admitting that your parents don't love you is really hard, even though you know it's not your fault. You can't help but ask, is it because I'm not good enough that they love my brother more? No. I suddenly looked up. A young man in a gray hoodie leaned against a peeling lamppost. The swirling smoke obscured his cheeks, but his eyes shone unusually bright. I stuttered, what are you doing here? When I left your house after dinner, weren't you already getting ready for bed? Zhou Yusi came over and suddenly pulled me into his arms. His shoulders were broad, his embrace warm, leaning against his chest. I listened to him speak seriously and earnestly. It's not your fault, Xiao Linqi, you are fine, it's them who are wrong. It turned out he had heard the words I had unconsciously spoken earlier. I asked him, my voice filled with emotion, really? Zhou Yusi rested his chin on my head and nodded seriously, really, brother Ci never lies. I felt a twinge in my nose. I wanted to say, Zhou Yusi, do you know this is the first time someone has chosen me so resolutely? My loved ones in my past life had all firmly given up on me. I also wanted to say, Zhou Yusi, those cheesy lines are really corny, but thank you. They mean a lot to me. But the words swirled in my mouth and finally turned into, Zhou Yusi, didn't you promise me you would quit smoking? That warm embrace suddenly stiffened. The boy who seemed capable of shouldering everything suddenly reverted to that green high school student. He whispered, when I saw the look on your face as you answered the phone today, I guessed something was wrong. I followed you here secretly and heard the arguing from your house. I got agitated and, his voice was as faint as a mosquito's, it won't happen again. I looked up at his eyes, flickering with guilt, and suddenly laughed. He really didn't need to promise me anything. A casual remark of mine couldn't really bind him, yet Zhou Yusi still treated that promise with such care. So this is what it feels like to be valued, even with nothing at all. Someone would still hand you leverage willingly. Zhou Yusi, feeling my gaze, his face flushed with heat, changed the subject. What are you planning to do now? Do you want to stay at my place for a while? Sure. I agreed readily, actually, from the moment I stepped out the door. I had been thinking about what to do next. I am currently a high school student with no source of income and no time for part-time jobs. Living and meal expenses are manageable, as eating at the school cafeteria doesn't cost much, but accommodation, that's the major expense. In this city, a decent apartment's monthly rent could cost thousands, something I couldn't afford with my current status. Having Zhou Yusi help with this urgent matter couldn't be better. However, I continued. I won't take advantage of you for free. Once I have money, I'll pay you rent. Okay. Zhou Yusi, surprised by my quick agreement, soon frowned when he heard about paying rent, but it was only for a moment. The next second, he nodded in support of my decision. I smiled at him gratefully, thanking him for respecting my pride. But where will you earn the money? Zhou Yusi asked. I gave him a mysterious smile and said, I have my ways. Actually, it's no secret, no. 13 Middle School is the best school in the city, receiving many investments and donations every year. The school uses these funds to set up numerous awards to encourage students who excel academically. The amounts are substantial, and the prizes numerous. Among them, the midterm exam offers the largest amounts, 10,000 for first place, 5,000 for second, 2,500 for third, and so on. In addition to that, there's also a most improved award, which comes with a prize of 5,000 yuan. Unfortunately, such competitions are often monopolized by the elite class, and that 10,000 yuan always ends up in Chihan's pocket. This time, I think it might be my turn to take the top spot in our grade. This is the only quick way to make money that I can think of right now. I haven't told Zhou Yusi about this. Firstly, I'm afraid of losing face if I don't succeed. Secondly, I worry that if Zhou Yusi knew I wanted to beat Chihan, he might pester him every day and distract him from his studies. It's not that I feel sorry for Chihan, it's just that the kid likes to play dirty. Zhou Yusi is too kind and naive to outplay him. With 2 months left until the midterm exams, I've put in 10 times more effort than I did for my college entrance exams in my previous life. These kids, who have never stepped out of their ivory towers, won't understand the potential that can be unleashed by someone who's been battered by the real world and is back in school. Even Zhou Yusi couldn't help but wonder, we live under the same roof, but why does it feel like we hardly see each other? I just smiled and took it as a compliment. In the last monthly test before the midterms, I controlled my scores. Being too conspicuous can attract unwanted attention. And I didn't want to get carried away with my progress in the coming time, so I kept my grades within the bottom few of the class, not too different from usual, but enough to ensure I wouldn't be kicked out of the elite class. However, during the exam, I knew all the answers and my heart couldn't help but race with excitement. A sense of anticipation welled up inside me. It was like a fully prepared general yearning for the battlefield. After the results were out, Chi-Han helped distribute the test papers. When he got to my desk, his expression was one of pity, but his eyes gleamed with satisfaction. He sighed and said, "I told you not to be so stubborn. You almost got kicked out of the elite class. I've kept the notes for you, just in case you need them." Chi-Han, I suddenly called out to him, perhaps not expecting me to call him in such a gentle tone. He was momentarily stunned and blushed as he responded, I didn't even look up. Just said indifferently, "Maybe you should consider adopting a child from the orphanage." Chi-Han was baffled. "What? You seem to have a strong paternal instinct. It would suit you." Chi-Han's face darkened completely, and it took him several deep breaths to calm down before he said to me, "Xiao Linqi, don't push your luck. I really want to see how you handle the midterm exams." He wanted to say more, but then he caught a glimpse of Zhou Yusi entering the classroom, and after giving me a few glances, he finally walked away clenching his molars. Zhou Yusi sat down, frowning as he watched Chi-Han's retreating back, and asked, "Is he bothering you again?" I shook my head, waving the test paper in my hand. Zhou Yusi chuckled, snatched the test paper from my hand, and said with a smile, "You did well." He never had to worry about which class he was in, after all. Even if he scored the lowest in the entire school, the principal would keep him in the elite class for the sake of his family's donations. But, if I could improve his scores, maybe his parents wouldn't force him to transfer schools. So I asked him, "Where's your test paper?" Zhou Yusi was taken aback, then defiantly said, "I didn't take the test, I went out to play basketball." Since the seating in the test room is randomly assigned, I didn't know he had skipped the test. I was shocked. "Why?" Zhou Yusi casually replied, "It's boring, didn't feel like taking it." I fell silent. Well, it looks like improving his grades is going to be a long and challenging task, but the teacher intentionally placed the students from the elite class in the same examination hall to prevent copying and cheating by students from the regular classes. So, unfortunately, Chi-Han, Jiang Jiayao, and I ended up in the same room. They were even seated to my left and right. Bad luck. However, once the bell rang, I no longer cared about those distractions. Unlike the last monthly test, this time I performed to my full potential. In my past life, I always felt that studying was difficult, and after getting into the elite class, I started to slack off. If it weren't for wanting to stay close to Chi-Han, I probably would have been kicked out soon after I joined. But living this life again, I realized that studying isn't as hard as life's real struggles. Without proper study, I might repeat my past mistakes, get entangled with unworthy men, or become manipulated by my own family. With this belief, I had been extremely diligent over the past 2 months. Questions that used to stump me now seemed like child's play, so much so that half an hour before the exam ended, I had already finished my paper. I checked my answers again. Chi-Han just put down his pen and gave me a skeptical look. As the bell rang and the teacher collected our papers, the crowd rushed towards the door. Chi-Han squeezed next to me, frowning, and said, "The questions were quite challenging this time, but even if you couldn't do them, you shouldn't just give up." I raised an eyebrow. "Difficult, you say?" I didn't feel that at all. Chi-Han's frown deepened, his tone filled with the superiority of a top student. "You might not feel it, but the last few major questions were indeed tough. The gap in the school rankings is going to widen again." "Hey, you." I silently rolled my eyes and walked past him, brushing his shoulder as I left the classroom. Such confident statements make my brain shrink if I listen any longer. In the subsequent exams, I always finished a half hour before Chi-Han. After the last exam, Chi-Han sighed repeatedly at me. "Let me talk to Teacher Wang and plead for you to stay in the elite class. How about that?" I laughed. This person is really strange. In my past life, would he have thought to plead for me? No, because no matter which class I was in, I would shamelessly cling to him and adore him. but now that I've discarded him like an old shoe, he still sticks to me, enduring my mockery and dislike without letting go. But does he really want to help me? Not really, he's just not willing to let go. He's just trying to recapture the feeling of being adored and the sensation of superiority. I turned my head to Chi-Han and gave him a perfunctory smile. No need. I really can't accept that. Midterm exams always resulted in the posting of the red list. It displayed the rankings of the entire school, pinned up on the bulletin board in the corridor. Because this exam was very important, the teachers corrected the papers within just 3 days. On the day the results were posted, I went to the school store to buy water but saw a group of people crowded around the red list, buzzing with discussion. It can't be. God actually slipped up this time. What happened? When did the elite class change its guard? Stop talking, she's coming. I stood on the outskirts of the crowd, tiptoeing to peek over. The girl standing in front of me turned around, looked at me with a shocked expression. Someone shouted, and the crowd turned around, showing the same shocked faces. After a rustling of clothes, a path was cleared in front of me. Is it really that exaggerated? It seemed almost rude not to go in. Under everyone's gaze, I walked up to the red list and my eyes widened. In the largest title, in the boldest font, it clearly stated, first place, Xiao Lingqi. Did I really score higher than Chi-Han? Yet, that wasn't the most shocking part. Below my name, the one who followed wasn't Chi-Han. Instead, it was Zhou Yuxi. Second place, Zhou Yuxi. Third place, Chi-Han. The once unbeatable legend now only managed to secure third place. No wonder it had drawn such a large crowd. Especially since the ones in front of him included a love-struck fool who had just moved to the elite class for love, and a school tyrant who had bought his way in. Make way, a familiar voice rang out, and I instinctively turned my head to see Chi-Han's gloomy face. I turned back to look at the honor roll and suddenly found it amusing. He was right in a way, the gap had indeed widened, with Zhou Yuxi pulling ahead by 10 points, and me by a full 20 points. Just then, a sharp pain at my wrist made me turn back. Chi-Han had approached me at some point, fiercely grabbing my wrist, his teeth clenched as he said, "Is this amusing to you?" I was baffled. If you're referring to me taking first place, then yes, it is quite amusing. Knocking you down a peg feels great. The crowd of onlookers grew, nearly blocking the entire corridor. At that moment, Chi-Han growled in a voice neither too loud nor too soft. Even if you cheat, you should have a limit. What's the use of stolen scores? Everyone gasped. The news exploded through the crowd, and whispers reached my ears unabashedly. How could she possibly score first? Just as I thought, during the exam, Chi-Han seemed to be sitting with her. He must have seen something. It's likely she cheated and Chi-Han witnessed it, yet shamelessly scored first. No wonder Chi-Han is so furious. Listening to the public condemnation, I scoffed. Oh, they've even fabricated the entire process now. Do you have any proof? Chi-Han, grinding his molars, replied darkly, Xiao Lingqi, you might fool others, but not me. How could you improve so much in 2 months? Who leaked the questions to you? Was it Zhou Yuxi? That must be why he came second. The crowd inhaled sharply in waves. The murmurs grew louder. That explains how both of them could score first and second. Yeah, Zhou Yuxi's family is so wealthy. It's not impossible for him to bribe the teachers. He got the answers and then passed them to Xiao Lingqi. They are desk mates after all. How could both of them improve so much at the same time? There must be something fishy. Now I understand how rumors start. I suddenly broke free from Chi-Han's grip, hugged my arms, and said with a laugh, "Can't you handle the setback? Are you losing your mind over this? Chi-Han, you'd better get used to it because from now on, I'll beat you in every exam. You might as well start saying goodbye to being the top student." With that, I turned to leave, but Chi-Han persisted, calling out from behind, "So, you still refuse to admit it?" His accusation made me laugh. "Don't just talk, where's your proof?" The crowd fell silent for a few seconds, all eyes on Chi-Han. His expression darkened, and then as if making a resolution, he shouted, "I saw it, Xiao Lingqi. I personally saw you cheating." Oh, Chi-Han can be so foolish. If only he had claimed I memorized the answers in my head. Cheating, copying from small slips of paper. Couldn't they just check the surveillance cameras? Until our teacher, with a constipated expression, told us the exam room's camera was broken. The way he avoided eye contact made it clear he was going to protect Chi-Han. After all, Chi-Han had been the perennial top student, still the teacher's darling despite not being first this time. So the teacher would rather lie than let people know Chi-Han had desperately lied. but why should my reputation suffer for his wrongdoing? I was accused of cheating without any evidence, but the testimony seemed to solidify the claim against me. Just then, a lazy voice drifted in from outside the office. Even a simple camera breaks so easily. I'm starting to wonder if my dad's investment is just being embezzled by the school board. Makes me question if it's even worth building another building for this school. Surprised, I turned around and saw Zhou Yusi walking over, hands in pockets. From among the onlookers, sweat was clearly visible on the forehead of our homeroom teacher. Stuttering, he asked, "Why are you here?" Zhou Yusi pursed his lips and said, "Didn't someone claim that the second place I worked hard for was achieved through cheating? I came to see who dares to stir up trouble." The teacher wiped his forehead with his sleeve and said sheepishly, "We're not talking about you, we're discussing the matter concerning student Xiao Linqi." "Oh," Zhou Yusi smiled, "you say she cheated, so where did she get the answers from? The questions are set by renowned teachers from the province, she had no access to them. The only possibility is that she got them from me." "Right." The teacher fell silent. Zhou Yusi was right. I neither had the connections nor the money to buy answers from the question setters. The most believable rumor now was that Zhou Yusi had bribed a teacher and shared the answers with me. But pinning the blame on me versus on Zhou Yusi was a completely different matter. I knew very well that Zhou Yusi was determinedly linking us together to leverage his family's influence over the school. Grateful, I shot him a thankful look. The teacher's face grew sweatier as he saw the situation unfavorable for further pressing us, so he turned to Chi Han and asked, "Chi Han, tell the teacher, did you really see Xiao Linqi cheating? Maybe you were mistaken, and it's all just a misunderstanding." His tone was coaxing, almost suggestive, but at this stage, Chi Han couldn't possibly back down. Clenching his teeth, he insisted, "I saw it with my own eyes." The teacher fell silent, his gaze shifting back and forth between the two groups. Unsure of how to proceed, since he had already mentioned that the camera was broken, to now say it was fixed would expose his hypocrisy. He couldn't allow his authority as a teacher to be undermined. Chi Han also grasped this point, which is why he stubbornly refused to give in. Just as the standoff continued, a clear female voice suddenly came from the door, "I can testify." My heart sank bit by bit as Jiang Jiayao walked into the office. How could I forget about her? She and Chi Han were sitting on either side of me at the time. If she now corroborated Chi Han's story that I cheated, I would truly be unable to clear my name even if I jumped into the Yellow River. Zhou Yusi, sensing my distress, subtly hooked his little finger with mine where no one could see. "Don't panic." Whether it was his reassurance or not, my heart calmed down. In contrast, Chi Han's eyes sparkled. Seemingly certain that Jiang Jiayao would support him, the teacher asked, "Jiang, what testimony do you have?" Jiang Jiayao looked at Chi Han, then at me, and finally took a deep breath as if mustering courage, and said, "I can testify that Xiao Linqi did not cheat." "What?" Chi Han was also stunned. He was the first to react, desperately stepping forward to grab Jiang Jiayao's clothes and shouting, "What are you talking about?" Zhou Yusi's eyes narrowed, and he stepped forward to grab Chi Han by the collar. Forcing him to retreat, the scene became chaotic, interspersed with the teacher trying to mediate. Hey, no fighting." Jiang Jiayao looked terrified. Her face pale, but still, she bravely stood by my side and said, "I was sitting right next to Xiao Linqi at the time, and I can assure you she did not cheat." She was solving problems so quickly that I was a bit surprised and ended up watching her more closely. "I can assure you, she never pulled out any cheat sheets or engaged in cheating throughout the entire exam." After she finished speaking, the whole office fell silent. Only the students outside the door who were following the drama suddenly burst into a chorus of hisses. Chi Han was still feebly trying to defend himself. They were all in cahoots. The class teacher, rubbing his temples in frustration, said to me, "You three can go now. Chi Han, you stay." As we stepped outside, I said to Jiang Jiayao, "Thank you." Jiang Jiayao turned her face away, looking a bit embarrassed, yet her tone was still firm. "Don't thank me, I was just telling the truth. Besides, I've realized now that Chi Han is not worth my affection." However, she continued, turning to look at me, "I still dislike you." With that, she turned on her heel and walked away, her head held high. Watching her retreating figure, I smiled wryly, as if I finally understood why Chi Han had been so infatuated with her in the past. Zhou Yusi waved his hand in front of my face. "What are you staring at?" I came back to my senses and shook my head. "Nothing, just thinking, she's braver than me." The school's decision regarding Chi Han was to issue a formal reprimand, which would be recorded on his student file. slandering someone else would now be a permanent stain on his record. I knew that the school took such a strong stance partly because Zhou Yusi had pushed for it, but once the Chihan issue was resolved, I began to interrogate Zhou Yusi, arms crossed and squinting my eyes. I asked, if you could rank second in the whole school, why did you pretend to have poor grades before? Zhou Yusi shrugged. Didn't I tell you, it was boring, I didn't feel like trying. So, was the test too simple for him to find it interesting? Zhou Yusi continued, after you asked about my grades last time, I thought I'd make a big impression and get you to admire me a bit. Unfortunately, Xiao Linqi, I still couldn't outscore you. I laughed. Sorry, but it looks like you'll have to admire me this time. Zhou Yusi looked at me, his eyes bright. I've always admired you, classmate Xiao Linqi. Perhaps the blow to Chihan was too severe, as he no longer interfered in my life, but neither did he focus on his studies. His grades continued to decline, even falling out of the top 10 in our grade. A favored son of heaven who had never faced defeat could end up in such a downfall. Well, even if it's this lifetime's Chihan paying for the sins of his past life. I rightfully received a prize of 10,000 yuan and gave half of it to Zhou Yusi as rent. He did not refuse and accepted it promptly, even introducing me to a tutoring job, for hours a week at 100 yuan per hour, enough to cover my weekly expenses. I accepted his kindness without any awkwardness. Life went on smoothly. I never slacked off in my studies, so my grades remained stable. Zhou Yusi occasionally skipped exams, but no one said he was in the elite class because of his money anymore, whatever agreement he reached with his parents. In this life, he didn't transfer schools and stayed at No. 13 high school. Moving into the senior year, Zhou Yusi finally started taking his studies seriously. He was naturally smart and had access to the best teachers in the country due to his family background, securing a solid second place in our grade. Of course, I ranked first. Each time I came first, the things Chihan had done to me were brought up again, and he was ridiculed and scorned anew. That phrase, I will defeat you in every exam, became his relentless nightmare, perhaps unable to bear the pointing fingers. A month before the college entrance exams, Chihan decided to go home and study on his own. As for Jiang Jiayao, in this life, she saw Chihan's true nature early on and timely withdrew her feelings. I bumped into them in the corridor several times. Chihan always looked at her as if he wanted to say something but hesitated. Jiang Jiayao, on the other hand, would pass him by without changing her expression. So you see, Chihan, what goes around comes around. Those who betray sincerity may not swallow 1,000 needles, but they do receive their just desserts. On the day the admission notices were issued, Zhou Yusi and I were admitted to the same university. There was no melodramatic sacrifice of a better life for each other. Because we were both excellent, we got into the best university in the province. As for Chihan, I heard he performed poorly in the exams and ended up at a university I had never even heard of. Jiang Jiayao was sent abroad by her family. I remember in the last life, she also went abroad, and that's when she broke off contact with Chihan. If this were a fairy tale, this would be the end. The good are rewarded, and the wicked are punished. However, the princess in fairy tales doesn't have a toxic family of origin, so my story continues. After entering university, Zhou Yusi and I got together. My parents, having heard some news, thought I had snagged a wealthy suitor and came to my school overnight to find me. When the counselor called me into the office, I was still bewildered, but as soon as I entered, my mother rushed to embrace me, smearing my clothes with her tears and snot. Xiaoqi, you are so heartless. Have you no need for your parents anymore? How many years has it been since you came home? Your parents have been so worried searching for you. After I collected myself, I couldn't help but laugh in frustration. Looking for me. When I ran away from home, I was just 20 meters from our front door where I ran into Zhou Yusi and stood there for half an hour, yet you didn't come out to look for me, and now you put on this act. The counselor, unaware of the truth, thought I was the disloyal daughter who ran away from home and looked quite stern. She said, Xiao Linqi, if there are issues, you need to communicate properly with your parents. Look how old they are and yet they've come all this way to find you. That's not easy. I smiled tightly, my face apologetic. I'm sorry, teacher, I wasn't thoughtful enough and caused you trouble. I'll take my parents out and settle them first. Goodbye, teacher. Seeing my sincere attitude, the counselor didn't say much more, just waved her hand. All right, I'll give you 2 days off, spend them well with your parents. I nodded repeatedly and pushed my parents out of the office. Only after leaving the office did my parents' confused expressions remain. They had hoped to make a scene in front of the counselor to intimidate me. They would threaten me with things like, "Believe it or not, I can make a scene that will make you infamous across the whole school," trying to blackmail me for money. Having known them for over 20 years, wasn't I aware of their schemes? They probably didn't expect that I wouldn't argue with them, but instead dismissed the teacher with just a few words. As soon as the office door closed, my mother seemed to snap back to reality, trying to reach past me to grab the door handle. "No, we need to clear this up in front of the teacher." I grabbed her hand firmly, my smile not reaching my eyes. "If you dare go back in, I won't give you a cent." My father came up and slapped my hand away. "You ungrateful child. What do you take your mother and me for?" Ignoring the sting on the back of my hand, I looked up coldly at this man who was my father in the biological sense. "You can go in and make a scene, but open your eyes and see. I am no longer the obedient daughter you used to push around. Take this chance to talk reasonably and leave with me." It was a silent confrontation. After what seemed like an eternity, the executioner finally admitted defeat. My dad lowered his voice and turned to my mom, saying, "Let's go outside to talk." In a private booth at the coffee shop near the school entrance, a middle-aged woman was shedding crocodile tears while the man beside her frowned and remained silent. "Your brother took money from us to study, but when we asked his teachers, we found out he never went to school. He gambled it away," she revealed. "He spent $30,000 in 1 month and came back with a mountain of debt. We paid it off for him the first time, and he knelt and swore never to do it again. But a month later, the creditors were knocking on our door. 100,000. Your father and I had to dig into our savings, money we were saving for your brother's wedding." At this point, she was nearly wailing, torn between the pain for her son and the daughter-in-law who suffered without even entering the family. "If it weren't for dire circumstances, your father and I wouldn't have come to you. We're really at our wits' end." I slightly furrowed my brows. "Have you sold the house or the car?" Her crying stopped abruptly. Both of them looked up at me in astonishment. I continued calmly, "It seems you haven't sold them. Is this what you call being at your wits' end?" My dad, feeling as if his deepest fears were exposed, suddenly burst into anger in a state of extreme guilt. "You ungrateful child, what do you mean? Do you expect your mother and I to be homeless before we can ask for your help? Should I, your father, kneel before you?" "Go ahead," I interrupted, articulating every word. "You said it, so follow through. Kneel, anyone can talk. Who are you trying to morally blackmail here?" "Fine, you've grown wings." His face turned from blue to white, and finally, he sat down with a dark face. I shifted to a more comfortable position and chuckled lightly. "You both keep asking for my help, but I'm just a college student. Where would I get the money?" The couple exchanged glances, and the room fell into a brief silence. After a while, my mom tried to lighten the mood with a forced laugh. "Shachi, you can stop hiding it from us. Your father and I heard that you're dating the young master of Zhou Group. Isn't that right?" As expected, the smile on my lips turned cold. "That's just dating. Why should I ask him for money?" Upon hearing this, my mom sensed an opportunity and hastily added, "Why can't you ask him for money? It's just 100,000 to him. It's mere pocket change, and this is for your own brother." My dad, who had been silent, snorted disdainfully and arrogantly added, "Besides, if he wants to marry you in the future, the bride price would be more than 100,000. What's wrong with taking a bit in advance, especially since he's been with my daughter, Xia Jiqiang?" I slammed the table, losing my composure for the first time today. Even though I was prepared, I couldn't believe such words came from my own father. In his eyes, his daughter was a bargaining chip for wealth, a tool to save his son, nothing more than a living being with dignity. Seeing my outburst, he lowered his voice but still looked dissatisfied. "What are you yelling for? I'm not wrong." I massaged my forehead and said, "I don't have money, and it's impossible for me to ask Zhou Yusi, but it wasn't easy for you to come all this way, so stay in my apartment for a couple of days, and then we can figure something out for my brother." They wanted to protest after hearing the first half of my statement, but after hearing the rest, my mom pulled on my dad's sleeve and subtly shook her head. Watching their little gestures, I secretly chuckled to myself, "If you hadn't come to me today, it would have been better for us to go our separate ways, but I know you won't let go of this money tree, so, no matter what happens in the future, don't blame me." 19. Sometimes, because my tutoring sessions run late, I often miss the curfew. So I simply rented an apartment off campus. As soon as my mom walked in, she started to lament with a hint of sarcasm. "Your brother is back home living a life of hiding and dodging, while you're living comfortably. I didn't indulge her and retorted, did I force him to gamble? Did I tell him to hide? Sometimes. That's just how people are. If you obediently comply, they only get worse, but if you lose your temper, they are the ones who end up staying quiet. After I said that, my mom immediately shut up. My dad just lay down on the sofa, crossing his legs, and looking at a photo of me and Zhou Yusi on the coffee table. He said, I never imagined that one day I, Xia Jiqiang, would become Zhou's father-in-law. When will you bring this young man over to meet us? I scoffed internally, thinking it would never happen, but I replied, when there's time. Just then, as my mom was looking around, she suddenly pointed at a safe and asked, what's in here? I looked up, flustered, and said, nothing. My parents exchanged a glance, and my dad gave me a meaningful look. You've grown up, keeping secrets from your parents now. I didn't respond. These days, as I was busy with classes, my parents just stayed in the apartment, eating and drinking. Occasionally, they would see me and ask me to find a way to gather money for my brother. One day, as soon as I entered, I saw the dining table filled with gift bags. A sense of unease immediately tightened around my heart. Holding a luxury handbag, my mom came up to me with a smile. Shachi, do you think this bag looks nice? Yusi chose it especially for mom. That was the last straw for me. I stepped forward abruptly, grabbed her arm, and said through gritted teeth, you went to see Zhou Yusi. My mom shrugged off my hand with an indifferent expression. Well, if you refuse to help your brother, then your dad and I had no choice but to ask our future son-in-law. You have no idea. Rage. I couldn't imagine what embarrassing and vulgar things they might have said to Zhou Yusi, nor could I imagine how Zhou Yusi would view me now. Uncle, Auntie, what's going on here? Suddenly, a male voice appeared behind me. I turned sharply, facing Zhou Yusi's puzzled, smiling face. It's nothing. It's nothing. Seeing Zhou Yusi had arrived, my mom quickly got up from the floor, dusted off her clothes, and chuckled. I was just playing around with Xiaoqi. Come in, have a seat. I looked down at his shoes, biting my lip. So embarrassing. I just felt an unprecedented level of embarrassment. I had wanted to handle things on my own. I didn't want him to think less of me. Let's go. A warm hand wrapped around my shoulder, guiding me towards the living room. No crying now. The show is just beginning. I suddenly looked up. What did he mean? 20. In the safe in my apartment, I had placed 30,000 yuan. My original plan was for them to notice this money and steal it by breaking the lock. We've installed a pet camera in the living room. When the evidence is in hand, I'll be able to use the threat of calling the police to force them out of my life. However, I didn't expect Zhou Yusi to get involved midway. My parents were ahead, busy cutting fruits and wiping the table, trying to make a good impression in front of Zhou Yusi to secure this golden bachelor, but he was behind, whispering to me in a voice only the two of us could hear, you prepared so much, how come you left me out? I was surprised. You knew. Zhou Yusi raised an eyebrow. I've had my suspicions since the day you bought that old-fashioned, insecure safe. Who would choose such a thing unless they wanted it to be easily broken into? There's obviously no pet at home, yet you bought a camera. I was wondering why until your tutor told me your parents were visiting, and then everything made sense. I suddenly felt a wave of relief. Thankfully he had guessed, and I'm grateful for that. He didn't think less of me, and it didn't create any distance between us. More importantly, I wasn't alone in carrying this painful burden anymore. But then, I suddenly asked, puzzled, if you knew all along, why did you still give them gifts? Zhou Yusi smiled mysteriously and held me tighter. I know you're willing to do anything to get rid of them, but I wouldn't want you to tarnish your reputation by reporting your own parents. Let me handle this. I stared at his face, dumbfounded, moved, surprised, and overwhelmed. Various emotions swirled in my chest. Finally, it all came down to one sentence. Okay, I trust you. For the past few days, my parents have been treating the Zhou Corporation building like their own home, visiting every other day. Each time they returned, they brought back a pile of luxury gifts. They even began planning how to marry me off to the Zhou family sooner to get a hefty dowry. Although I was annoyed, I endured it because of Zhou Yusi's plan, until one day, I saw a USB drive on the living room coffee table. It stood out among the other luxury items. What's this? I picked it up and asked curiously. To my surprise, my mother suddenly lunged forward and snatched the USB drive back, saying in a panic, it's nothing, I bought it myself. I thought to myself, you don't even know how to turn on a computer. What could you possibly need to store on a USB drive? Could it be something she swiped from Zhou Yuxi's office? I held back my emotions and stepped aside to text. USB drive. Zhou Yuxi quickly replied, yes, I understood. After so many days, the big moment was finally about to unfold. The next day, Zhou Yuxi's assistant came to our house. Oh, isn't this Xiao Chen? My mother was just about to greet him when Xiao Chen, looking flustered, bypassed her. Miss Xia, the boss sent me to ask if you've seen this item. He pulled out his phone, and the screen clearly displayed the USB drive I had seen the day before. From the corner of my eye, I saw my mother's expression stiffen instantly. I didn't answer directly, but instead asked, what happened? Xiao Chen wiped the sweat from his forehead and said, this contains our company's trade secrets, which have always been carefully stored in the boss's office. We couldn't find it today when we needed it for a meeting, so the boss sent me to see if it's been left at your house. As soon as he finished speaking, my mother couldn't wait to interject. Is that very important? Xiao Chen said, of course, it's crucial, Auntie. This is a project worth several billion. If it falls into the hands of our competitors, it would be disastrous. My mother's face turned pale, and she was at a loss for words. I'll look for it, I replied. Contact Zhou Yuxi if you find it. You can go back first, I said to Xiao Chen. After he left, I turned around and asked, the USB drive you took home yesterday, was it the one Zhou Yuxi lost? My mother nodded frantically. Yes, where is it now? I gave it to someone. I suddenly raised my voice. What did you say? My mother patted her chest and gave me a displeased look. Why are you yelling? It's just that, these past few days, your father and I met a young man. When he heard I was Yuxi's mother-in-law, he asked if I could show him the drive. I was almost driven to tears by her foolishness. Just because someone asks, you gave it to them. Do you realize this is stealing? But they paid for it. 200,000. Think about your brother's situation still being unresolved. Yuxi has given many gifts recently, but never cash. I can't just sell my bags to save your brother. Besides, with the 200,000, half can be used to pay off debts. And the other half can buy your brother a car. Isn't that great? I closed my eyes and took a deep breath to hold back the swear words rising to my throat. Why can't I sell the bags? Clearly, she wants both the bags and the cash. It all boils down to one thing, vanity. At that moment, my father was also drawn out by the noise, still putting on airs. He commanded, it's just whatever drive, just get someone to ask for it back. What's the big deal about making such a fuss here? I held my forehead and sighed. Didn't you hear what Xiao Chen just said? It contains commercial secrets. Even if we get the USB drive back, the contents have surely been copied by now. It's like throwing away billions. Do you understand? When they find out it was you who stole it, we will have to call the police, and you will go to jail. Do you understand? Hearing the word jail, my mother collapsed onto the sofa muttering. How can it be so serious? Suddenly, she lunged toward me. Xiao Qi, you have to save your mom and dad. Your brother is still in trouble. We can't afford to go to jail. Please beg Yuxi for mercy. I showed a helpless expression. It's a big project. It's not something Zhou Yuxi can decide alone. Above him, there's his father and the board. I grabbed her wrist. Mom, let's turn ourselves in. Maybe we can get out sooner. Impossible. My mom pushed me away. What self-surrender? Are you crazy? She then turned her gaze to my dad. Old man, say something. We can't go to jail. Unexpectedly, my usually irritable dad calmed down, sighed, and said to me, we were wrong, and we must admit it, but we really can't face Yuxi now. Could you please invite him here now? We will apologize to him in person. As for what happens next, we'll leave it to him. Before he could finish, my mom showed an incredulous expression. Xia Jiqiang, are you crazy? You want to go to jail? But I don't. I'm too old. I might just die in there. Why should I? Slap. A slap rang out crisp and loud. My dad, pointing to my mom who was knocked to the ground, scolded, in front of our daughter. We must own up to our actions. Consider it the last lesson we give her. Not wanting to watch this drama any longer, I turned and grabbed the door handle. All right, I'll go get Zhou Yuxi. 2 hours later, I returned home. I had ordered takeout in Zhou Yuxi's office and brewed a pot of tea. Finally, leisurely, I brought him back home. Upon opening the door, as expected, they had already vanished. They were so hurried they didn't even have time to pry open the safe, saving me 30,000 yuan. It's really you who understands them. Guessing they would run, I chuckled lightly, with a mix of mockery and reflection. From now on, they would probably avoid me at all costs, never again coming to cause trouble willingly. That USB drive, is it okay? Zhou Yusi shook his head, no worries. It contained fake information. If the Liu family believes it to be true, they'll just fall into our trap. Instead, it works to our advantage, I said with a smile. Director Zhou, this move of yours really kills two birds with one stone. Excellent strategy. Zhou Yusi raised his eyebrows slightly. Do you admire me a lot? On his face, which still carried a carefree arrogance, I seemed to see the boy from many years ago. I said, I always have. Classmate Zhou Yusi, extra story, today. During a hospital inspection, I encountered a couple causing a scene. Hospital disturbances are not uncommon, but everything changed when I saw the patient's name, Xiao Linqi. It's not a very common name, so I was almost immediately sure it was her. On a whim, I had Xiaochen look into what had happened. It wasn't long before he reported back. So, she donated all her money, and her parents disagreed, I asked. Xiaochen nodded. That's right, boss. I fell into deep thought. Reminded of the days when I was still in high school, back when my parents were busy with their business. They often had me moving from one school to another. Sometimes I'd be at a school for a few months, other times, it could be half a year. As a result, I hardly ever made any friends. While studying in City A, I stumbled upon a secret hideout. It was an abandoned factory that grew incredibly dim at dusk. At night, it was so dark you couldn't see your hand in front of your face. But I loved that darkness. It became my refuge on days when I had nowhere else to go after school and didn't want to go home. One day, as I sat there lost in thought, I heard footsteps accompanied by the sound of a girl crying. I really don't have any money. Please let me go, she pleaded. Under the moonlight, I could vaguely make out a stocky figure who retorted, who only carries $5 nowadays. Stop pretending and hand it over. Another, thinner boy said, Boss, it's really dark here. And there are rumors about ghosts. Maybe we should leave and find someone else to rob. Stop wasting time. We'll get the money faster and then we can go online. Finding someone else would waste too much time. The leader snapped back, then turned to pressure the girl again to give up her money. But the girl kept insisting, I really don't have any money. My parents don't give me any. Clearly annoyed, the leader continued, no money. What about that red string around your neck? What's hanging from it? Some jade. Hand it over. Summoning courage from somewhere, the girl refused. No, this was left to me by my grandmother. As the stocky boy reached out to snatch it, a struggle ensued. Normally, I never interfere in these matters, but maybe because I was in a good mood that day, I suddenly felt compelled to intervene. I picked up a rock from the ground and threw it at them. Ouch. The rock missed the stocky boy and hit the thinner one instead. He screamed. There's a ghost, a real ghost. Annoyed by his shouting, the leader yelled, What are you screaming about, boss? It's true, I got hit by a ghost. Feel my head, it's swollen. The thin boy trembled, though the leader tried to act tough. His voice shook. Nonsense, there's no such thing as ghosts. Ah, another stone hit him right in the forehead. Stuttering, he said, I was hit by a ghost too. Lucky day for you. We're out of here. With that, they fled the factory. I folded my arms, leisurely watching the girl who still stood there, half expecting her to scream and run away too, but she didn't. Instead, she opened her arms and groped her way towards me, saying, Kind person, thank you. I raised an eyebrow. A materialist, perhaps. As she nearly reached me, I felt compelled to stop her. Stay there. She obediently halted, but before she could steady herself, she tripped over a stone and fell to the ground. Probably new to the factory, she wasn't used to the darkness. And now everything before her was pitch black. She didn't get up, likely still pondering why I asked her to stop, so she stayed put, unsure whether to advance or retreat. I sighed. Why was she so clumsy? Sitting on the ground, she looked up, trying to make out my face in vain. What's your name? She asked. Do you also go to middle school? No. 13. I didn't respond to her but simply extended my hand and said, Get up. She seemed not to notice my hand reaching out. Instead, she misheard my words. Chi-Han, the Chi-Han from the elite class, who, I opened my mouth to respond but ended up not contradicting her. Subconsciously, I didn't want to get too involved with the people here since I knew I'd eventually leave, so I withdrew my hand and said indifferently, I'm leaving. With that, I strode away. The girl called out from behind me, Chi-Han, thank you, I will come to find you. I later recognized her because she became known in the school as someone who constantly followed Chi-Han around. At the time, my first thought was relief that I hadn't given my real name, otherwise, I would have been endlessly bothered, but later on, as I dined alone and walked alone I would often see her clinging to Chi-han. That made me wonder uncontrollably, what if I had told her my real name? Would she admire me like she admires Chi-han? What does it feel like to be admired? But it was just a thought. Meanwhile, I also remembered her name, Xiao Linqi. Later on, as before, I transferred schools and left. I had long since put everything behind me. Unexpectedly, many years later, I would meet her again and still remember her name. Holding my forehead, I instructed Xiao Chen. Give her the best equipment in the hospital, the best room, but don't let her find out. As for the medical expenses, calculate them as before. Xiao Chen looked troubled and regretful as he said, "Boss, it's no use, she has already." I was somewhat stunned, then there was a long silence. Coming to my senses, I waved my hand, "You may go now." A few months later, Xiao Linqi passed away in a hospital owned by my company. I had saved her once but couldn't save her a second time. I felt some sorrow. A few days later, I received an invitation, my assistant said. It was personally delivered by the bridegroom of the Jiang family, saying he was your high school classmate and insisting you grace the occasion. It was clear enough, a son-in-law who married into the wife's family, the Jiang family. I had no particular memory of them, though it seemed like we had some minor business dealings. But among so many high school classmates, who could remember everyone? Yet, when I opened the invitation, I fell silent. Chi-han, Jiang Jiayao. It indeed was a name I remembered. Seeing my expression, Xiao Chen hurriedly added, "They say Miss Jiang studied abroad for a few years, and Mr. Chi has been waiting for her all this while." Touched by his devotion, she hurried to marry him as soon as she returned. They've already had one lavish and romantic wedding, which was even touted by the media as the wedding of the century. This is their second one, specially inviting business elites. Probably to pave the way for Mr. Chi's company. I raised an eyebrow, catching the key point. Chi-han's company. Xiao Chen continued, "Yes, Mr. Jiang thinks highly of this son-in-law and gave him a sum of money to start a business. Oh, and our company has ongoing collaborations with Chi's company." I almost immediately said, "Cancel it." Xiao Chen, who had been speaking fluently, suddenly stuttered. "What?" I repeated. "Cancel our collaboration with Chi's company, no matter the cost. And send out a message, anyone who partners with Chi's company should not come to Zhou Group for any business." Confused, Xiao Chen instinctively asked, "Why, boss?" Looking at the names on the invitation, I finally said, "Because he's a thief." After Chi's company went bankrupt, I visited Xiao Linqi. Standing in front of her modest tombstone, I suddenly didn't know what to say. I felt inexplicably guilty. Her life had taken a tragic turn from the moment she fell in love with Chi-han. And the beginning of that tragedy was something I had inadvertently set in motion. "Would you blame me?" I asked softly, but there was no answer. Only the gentle breeze brushes past my ears, like a sigh. I say, though it's many years overdue, allow me to formally introduce myself. Hello, my name is Zhou Yusi.